Marlowe,
No,
I will introduce Marlowe. I will not introduce. I'll get that in as the thing why we are doing this episode.
जो भी हो, that's fine, no issue. Audio's
Yeah,
fine, right?
audio is fine, and even Monica Mama Darling might get a reference here or two. Uh,
मत घुसाओ उसे please.
पता था you'll say this. Anyways,
Keep it classy, keep it classy. Let's just
Johnny
keep it
Gaddar
classy.
then. That's
Yeah, okay.
yes,
That's better.
good. Okay.
Because इंडिया का बॉम्बे नोयर थोड़ा घुसाऊंगा शायद, देखता हूँ.
Hmm.
चलो,
Got it.
start.
हाँ start हो गया automatically पिछले वाला जाएगा शायद. Anyways, hello. Welcome to today's podcast. We have a very special episode today. This is a long time coming. As usual, I think these are sort of episodes which have been planned for 2, 3, 4, 5 months even, and
5 months, yeah.
5 months even, and then they take place on a week when all of us are free or have time to just go through it, because they are pretty big topics. I think they require preparation, and it's better to come sort of with knowledge of the
Also,
genre, knowledge of
also
whatever. I mean,
secret,
yeah.
also secret. We all, even if the genres or the things we select, we love these to
Yes.
talk about these. So we don't just want to, be glib about it and just
Yeah.
go off on a tangent or something like that. We want to
Yes.
stay within the purview of the genre we talk
Yes.
about.
So the person who has just spoken, the voice. He is. I mean, if you're a quid listener, you definitely know it. So Amartya is the one who initiated this topic. So just to put that out there, more than say that, oh, I'm initiating it. Amartya is the one who suggested this. He's also suggested other topics, which we will get to soon, hopefully. I would
Hopefully.
love to. Yes, it's always hopefully.
It's always hopefully.
And the other guest we have is a returning guest who just came 2 episodes back, I think, with the Fablemans. This is Varun Bhake. Correct pronunciation, Varun, this time.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, good. Okay, so Varun himself is writing a paper on noir, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and that this is my bad introduction in that I've revealed noir in this sort of horrible way. But anyways, our topic for today is film noir. More so, I would say classic film noir. Like the films we have selected have are sort of, I mean, they range from 1930s to 1950, like at the edge of the 1950. But I know Amartya has done extra research also, so he will be bringing in other, like the different forms of noirs. And I mean, noir isn't something which
We will
is
talk about it. We will talk about it.
okay. We will talk about this
This,
anyways.
yeah.
The idea is that we want to sort of talk about film noir in general, and then
Hmm.
we want to also get into sort of specific films, which is the thing we do. Like if you have listened to our previous episodes on this sort of comprehensive sort of cinema movements we've done, but in this one we kind of just want to focus on 3 films, 3 different types, 3 different countries, 3 different languages. So it's very much, we are looking at M by Fritz Lang, released 1931. Then we are going to look at Double Indemnity, director Billy Wilder, 1944, and then Stray Dog by Akira Kurosawa, 1949. So, Amartya, do you want to take off? Just start with what is film noir in general? When did you get introduced? Maybe
No,
those are sort of, yes.
no. I just wanted to make something clear here that why
Mm-hmm.
did we choose these three movies? That's what I want to
Yes.
be very clear on. So I think we chose M because there is a term called a proto-noir because
Mm-hmm.
noir sources are mainly based on German Expressionism. And since Varun is writing a paper, correct me, put addendums on my statements whenever you can because it will help.
I'm
Okay.
not writing a paper on film noir, so
No,
I'm
but add, but feel free to add. I want
okay.
to know
Yeah.
more. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So the 1930s, during that time, because German Expressionism was such a huge movement during the 1910s and 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and plus because it's the 30s, Nazism was a thing at that point. So many artists in Germany emigrated,
Yes.
and they were involved in that movement.
Yep.
So when M came out, M's entire perspective was it looked different. It was
Yep.
also a part of the sound movement
Yes.
because at that point sound was becoming a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Also watch Babylon to understand how sound became a thing. But sound was
What
a
a
thing.
weird plug. But okay. Right.
Yeah. Just saying.
Okay.
So sound became a thing after that point, and
Yeah.
M was one of the first movies to show us a very cynical outlook.
Yeah.
And this is why we wanted to touch on M, because that was the first time we came to understand what a noir could actually look like, sound like, or feel like. That was the first inkling.
Yeah.
Noir didn't crystallize until much later.
It didn't
Noir,
become like the whole. It's not that, of course, a lot of this happens in general, where international cinema
yeah.
movements sort of get mainstreamed into Hollywood in some way or the
Mm,
other. And I think whatever Amartya is
mm,
saying about the emigration of a lot of German directors and all, even cinematographers, I think when they moved
mm,
to Hollywood, that style
mm,
came back, and it was also I don't know how
mm.
much of there is how much of truth is there in this, but like they were both marked, at least later on in Hollywood, this is marked by a lot of sort of post-war sentiment, and that was also the case with German Expressionism. I know I've read a little bit about German Expressionism,
Yeah.
where it's to do with the psychology
There are
of the people at that
mm,
point in time, post World War One, at least in the case of
yeah.
Germany. So yes,
So 30s and plus the post-war sentiments and everything, plus there is also the Great Depression angle. We will get it.
yes,
But
yes,
but the 45 movie I chose because this is the peak of the
yes.
noir. Noir became its peak during the 40s to the 50s. End
Yeah.
of the 50s, from the start of the 40s to the end of the 50s, noir was one of the defining genres, one of the most popular genres.
Hmm.
To the extent that even independent studios were making B pictures all on noirs.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, packed a lot more punch than those A film noirs. So,
You
yeah,
can list some of them. They're very good. I mean, I've only seen a couple of them, but I know that they're very good.
I'm also getting into this. But
Yeah.
all I'm saying, so the 40s, I I had to make a decision on which movie to choose because the
You,
40s
you had to make a
all have
decision
the
on which movies to leave, Amartya. Come on, you have
yeah.
to plug decision to leave here more than
Okay,
Babylon.
fine. So it's like I had to choose here, and my choice came down to two movies.
Mm,
Two of the most popular movies, two of the most famous movies of the film genre. I think out of the three most famous movies, these are the two most famous. One is Double Indemnity by Billy Wilder. The other is
mhm,
Out of the Past by Jack Torrance.
mhm.
Why that is? Because both of these movies are kind of extremely influential and also work as kind of the greatest hits of the entire genre itself,
Mhm.
especially Out of the Past. Because Out of the Past has all of the trademarks you can think about.
Got it. Mhm.
So, and then I chose Double Indemnity because let's face it, that movie is a lot of fun. So,
It is. Yes. Why Stray Dog? I'm very curious about that.
so this is a genre which soon shifted to
Mhm,
other countries. It
mhm.
shifted to France. It shifted to France because Jules Dassin,
Yes.
if people who haven't seen French movies, I'll highly recommend watching Jules Dassin movies because those are the most accessible to a couple of people. So Jules Dassin was actually more based around in US. He was making
Yes.
noir.
Mhm,
So when he was finally blacklisted from Hollywood, he shifted to France
mhm,
and he brought the noir sensibility over there.
mhm.
One of the most famous noirs of the 50s was Rififi. If
Yes.
anybody hasn't seen Rififi, watch Rififi. Bloody
Unfortunately,
amazing.
haven't, but I do want to see it.
Bloody amazing movie.
Yeah.
Then we have La Samurai, John
Yes.
Pierre Melville,
Melville. Yes.
God, serious
Yes.
God. That is another amazing movie. But
Yep.
that was one of the first inclinations that this genre, which is again very quintessentially an American genre,
Yeah.
is mutable enough that it can
Yes.
transition to other countries as well.
Yeah.
Plus, we were also in the middle of a war,
Yeah.
or we are getting out of a war. So we already had post-war sentiments or the middle of the war sentiments, and
Mm.
any sort of a sentiment rising from a conflict breeds ample amount of cynicism, ample amount of political unrest, ample amount
Yeah.
of turmoil.
That's the reason we selected this topic, basically,
Yes, ample
because
amount
we are
of
all
turmoil.
cynical morons,
Yes, more
right?
or less. Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
and I used to drink a lot. So there you go. But Stray Dog, why I chose this
Mhm.
is because out of the Second World War, one of the horrific wars of the last say decades,
Yeah.
the two countries out of many countries who were affected,
Mm.
Japan was the most affected out of all of
Mhm.
them. So it's interesting to see what a post-war sentiment of Japan would always look like, and the
Yep.
fact that Kurosawa chose a noir
Yep.
to get into what a post-war Japan actually looks like was very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, it is extremely cynical. On the other hand, because it is Japan, it was going to be very, very, very impactful.
Yes. Yeah. No, very
So
much
what,
agree. I mean, I know like I asked this as a question because I know there is a very clear reason why you select. Like when I watched it, this is the first time I watched Stray Dog at least. So I knew instantly why the selection was made, and I was like, "Oh, Amartya selected very well." As I say a lot of times when we are doing these episodes,
yeah,
but
you sound surprised. That was a
no,
surprise.
I wasn't surprised. No. As in, like, there are so many. I think that's the big thing, right? Like, there's
Oh
so
yeah,
many
definitely.
options. There's so many. So it's like making a selection out of whatever a lot of films. And I mean, I don't know which ones you could actually. I mean, of course, we are missing. I mean, so I posted this on Instagram, and someone had messaged me saying that I hope you're covering Third Man. I'm like, shit, we forgot Third Man, which is also a big film. Which is yes,
To that person, don't worry, I'm here. I'll touch it.
Also, sort of Stray
yes,
Dog works as, if I may make the connection, Stray Dog is about a country, like Amartya pointed out, in a post-war situation.
yeah.
Third
Yeah,
Man is precisely the same thing. It
Mm-hmm,
might have a completely different plot,
mm-hmm.
but
it's
it is also about Austria in the immediate aftermath of the Second World War.
it's also such an interestingly world build. It's also an interesting world building because Vienna is the typical example of a country stuck in a war,
Mm-hmm.
stuck post-war. The city itself is divided into divisions,
Sectors, yeah.
Yes.
sectors, occupied by different factions of the war, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where the espionage, the noir, all of it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The noir sensibility again, how mutable an American genre becomes because
Yeah.
this shifted to Britain.
Yes.
Third Man is British noir.
Is a British.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like that. That's the, I think, one of the big things. I mean, at least I've written some bits in my like previous school assignments about film noir. I mean, I wrote about White Heat, which is kind of your B noir, almost like
Also,
teetering
also
on
your
B.
also one of your biggest inspirations for Bombay Velvet, which we were talking
Yes,
about.
we were just talking about, and yeah, of course, the mutability comes into play. Like I was about to say that film noir also longevity, like it's just because it's marked more by attitude and tone and
Yes.
style, and not by like a unified movement of like certain filmmakers. I think it's able to, like, I mean, right now, would it be a bad thing to, like, it would actually be pretty appropriate to have a resurgence in many senses of noir, of that. I mean, you get a lot of paranoid thrillers now in many senses,
Yes.
but like you don't sort of get the typical noir, but you can get that style in many films, I feel. And I mean, some of them couldn't be playful, like we were discussing Johnny Gaddar, like they are more playful with it, and how they sort of use that template and then play around with it. But like then I guess there are examples also of like really serious brooding noir. Like, I mean, to some extent, recent Paul Schrader, like I have to evoke him because he's actually written something. I know he's gone a bit senile in real life, but like
Yeah, but he
Ernest
wrote
Faith,
one of the definitive books on
yes,
noir. One of the
exactly.
definitive.
And I think his output is pretty good, like in terms of how he defines and describes the noir. And I think it's interesting to see how mutable and how much it can translate in so many different
It's
voices
more
and sort of
mutable. It's
nations.
more
Yeah.
mutable than the Western genre, which is
Oh
again
yeah,
another
yeah,
American genre, but it is much more mutable than the Western genre, which is
yeah,
saying something.
I
But
think
today, how?
in recent times at least, and okay, recent, if there's anybody who's listening to this podcast who's born like around 2004 or 5, for 20-year-olds and above, even 10 years ago is recent. So
yeah.
2014 Nightcrawler, right? It's got
Yes.
that cynicism you need.
Yeah.
It's got,
Absolutely.
and it's got that biting sort of nature of how cruel the world
Yes.
can be.
Yeah.
Only
there's an apathy. There used to be an apathy towards
I
the
think,
entire world.
and there's that great scene, right, at the when spoiler for Nightcrawler. Are we allowed to do spoilers?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is whole spoilers.
Okay.
This is no. I
Spoiler
mean,
for
the only film we can probably not spoil is Monica, My Darling, but I guess that's
So spoiler for Nightcrawler when Riz Ahmed is dying, right?
yes.
And Jake Gyllenhaal is there, and it's just it tells you exactly how sort of difficult things have become.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know whether it qualifies, but Zodiac to me speaks very.
It can.
Because
Zodiac is absolutely one.
Yeah,
So,
it
no,
is.
but the ones you are talking about, Varun, those are neo-noir.
Neo-noir.
Neo-noir,
But I would
yes.
still say
Those
that
are all neo-noirs.
neo-noir, but I feel like also the neo-noir genre has sort of started to cater more to the let's be a little funny also. So Shane Black goes and does a Nice Guys kind of situation, which is more a comedy than a neo-noir film, I'd argue.
Which is good. No, but this is a good point, because I think what we are talking about will not have that. I think a lot of.
Won't.
I mean, Double Indemnity does a little, has that dark humor.
That's just
to it.
wilder, I think.
That's what I was. And then, but the other two are like steeped in like pitch. Like M has no sense of humor, I think, and it's for the better.
M is not supposed to be humorous
at all. And neither is Stray Dog. I think Stray Dog is pretty serious.
Stray Dog is not supposed to be humorous.
No, Stray Dog has its. I thought it had its.
It has its quirks.
Interesting moments, right?
Because the basic premise of Stray Dog is very funny.
It's seven. seven in post-war era. Yes.
Also, I think if I can jump in on M over here, because we were discussing some time ago, Amartya talked about Elroy and said I appear to be a fan. I'm a bigger fan of Philip Carr, actually, the Scottish writer who wrote this 14-series novel on this guy called Bernie Gunther in 20s, 30s, and 40s Germany. So the interesting thing about that I sort of gleaned from those novels is that noir is naturally an offshoot of the First World War, but the Wall Street crash of 29, I think, has perhaps the greatest impact.
The Great Depression.
The beginning of the Depression, right? Suddenly, almost everybody is poor.
Yes.
Right. And you see it echoed even now. Like, again, you were talking about Babylon Berlin some time ago. And there's a character who has put in a lot of money. And Germany was one of the worst affected countries outside of, the true West, so to speak, on the continent, especially because so many people were riding hard on that American investment that when it just plummeted, I think 6 million Reichsmarks or something was the cost of very basic amenity.
It was huge.
Huge. Inflation was just insane.
It's still a hot debate as to what exactly caused it. There are scholars and historians who are still trying to figure out what exactly caused it. Yeah.
Because unlike the 2008 crash, which you could easily attribute to things, it isn't. Everything isn't so crystal clear, and people had time to hide stuff.
Like there was a law passed. I think it was called the Smooth. What was the other guy's name? Anyway, that law was meant to protect American citizens from events like the Depression. It actually contributed to the Depression. It's all compounded. One recommendation I will give for people who are interested in understanding what happened to American society after the Depression is The Grapes of Wrath.
Oh yes, terrific film.
Terrific film, terrific book. Terrific book, terrific film.
By Ford, I mean John Ford. Sorry,
John Ford.
John Ford,
not
like
Henry
my
Ford.
friend.
Not
Yes.
Henry.
Yes.
And it's so strange, right, that he made what is obviously a very socialist-leaning film when Ford was so obviously a Republican and spent most of his working life with perhaps the biggest
Republican of all time
to work in Hollywood at the time, John Wayne.
John Wayne.
Yes. But what I was talking about M was I think it also didn't have the opportunity to be even slightly funny, is because one of its direct inspirations was Peter Kürten, the monster of Dusseldorf, right?
Yes.
And Kürten was nuts. That guy was absolutely certifiably there was some issue, and at that time I think Germany still executed by beheading. So
corporal punishment was a thing completely.
So, and that kind of thing had become so, crime was becoming so rampant, and we're seeing it now, which is why when you talk about, why is noir not becoming popular? Why are people talking about the resurgence of the bloody rom-com instead of talking
because
about,
they want escapism.
I'll give an answer to that. I don't think noir needs to be popular. I think noir
Hmm.
always exists.
It mutates in different forms, and I think
It
whatever.
mutates in different form. It
Yeah.
always existed. That's again another reason why I won't like to call noir as a genre per se. I think
Style.
it has become so mutable.
It's more
It has become a
style,
style. Yeah,
Mhm.
it has become more of a style.
And
Yeah.
but to be honest, there, I mean, it was technically always a style, right?
Uh-huh.
It was always supposed to be about the way you had shot a film
Short,
and how you
yeah.
had lit.
I was about to say, like, before we
It's always
detour
Noir
too
means
much.
black in French.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
always like you can understand that it's a style, but when a style becomes so popular that
Yes.
people are making more and more movies about it, it crystallizes into a genre. It's a
Absolutely.
similar
Yeah.
thing as to what happens that when a movie is so influential, the basic premise becomes a complete trope.
Yeah.
It's the same thing there.
Yeah, it's the same thing. No,
Rajamouli,
but
we are looking at you
I was
for
about
making Bahubali.
I was
Okay,
about to what I mean, I can't believe Babylon and Bahubali have come into this. But anyways, I was saying that before we sort of delve deep into the films themselves, like I just want to clarify or like sort of, have an opinion on what you think are like very typical characteristics of that style, because those sort of are present in I think all three of these films, and I feel in a lot of films, even neo-noirs, some of these are like very much prevalent. So if you were to get into that and just the basic characteristics of what contributes as a noir film, or like
The interesting thing is I recently basically created an assignment for myself.
yes,
So that assignment has made me start to explore more of this genre, which
yeah,
again, this is not homework for me. I love this thing.
yes, yeah,
But the exploration of this has made me realize that what I thought were actually crystallized tropes actually weren't.
Mhm.
They were. So it always is surprising to me some of the things we took for granted.
Mhm.
At least I took for granted in the noir. So
Yeah.
if I'm going to take a greatest hits approach here,
Yes, yeah, this is that only. We are that. We are
yeah,
greatest hits of noir. We are not like
yeah, full
noir
deep dive.
podcast. I mean, we
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
be like in one episode. How much can you do?
yeah. How much
Yeah.
can you do?
Yeah.
So the greatest hits approach is number one, the protagonist has to be the protagonist shifted. Okay, here's
Yep.
the key thing here. The protagonist always shifted. The protagonist either could be an aging boxer.
Yeah.
It's always an aging boxer, a blue collar worker.
Yep.
Okay. Or it's a private detective. The private detective or an insurance investigator. It came much
Yes.
later, the private
Yeah.
detective or an insurance investigator,
Yeah.
because the crimes needed to be investigated.
Yeah.
At least during the 40s.
Or the city, right? That's the big thing. I feel like
Yeah, I'm getting
yes,
to that. I'm
yeah,
getting to that.
yeah,
I'm getting to the protagonist, then I would be
yeah.
getting into the city.
Yes.
It's very urban centric, especially
Mhm.
taking place during alleyways in shadows.
Yes.
Chiaroscuro is a very big thing. Shadow and
Mhm.
lights play. That's a very big
Yes.
thing. Smoke is a very big thing.
A lot of smoke, which was
A lot of smoke.
M has so much smoke.
Yeah,
I'm like,
a lot
how
of
do they not die of like like just smoking
Yeah.
that much?
Yeah.
In a room, yes.
There is a movie called, I think it's called The Big Combo, 1955. The
Mhm.
director is not important. The cinematographer, John Alton, there is a final shot of that movie.
Yeah.
That movie's final shot of the woman standing straight in the middle of the road, the
Uh-huh.
man looking past her, all of it is encombed in shadow, and the smoke is coming from the side. That is
Mhm.
one of the definitive images of noir.
Mhm. Yeah.
John Alton shot it.
Mhm.
It's a 1955 movie. So smoke is very important. Number 4, mostly needs to be in black and white.
Yeah.
It almost
This is
every single time
classic noir, right? In any
classic
case,
noir.
yes.
It needs
Yes.
to be in black and white. Number 5, these come later. Okay, number 5,
Yeah.
rapid fire dialogue.
Yes.
Rapid fire dialogue with a bit of lyricism, with a bit of verve and a little lyricism
Yeah.
within it.
When does the narration come? The hard-boiled detective narration?
Later.
Later?
It comes
Okay.
later. It
Okay.
comes during the beginning of the 44, 43.
Mhm.
The voiceover thing, because before that, or even in the much more lower budgeted noirs, like the B movie noirs, like even
Mhm.
a B movie noir like The Hitchhiker,
Hmm.
those movies did not have voiceover.
Got it.
But voiceovers come during the 40s, 42, 43.
These are generally, just correct me if I'm, are these mostly studio films that sort of integrated, like
all of these are more or less studio films. Very
Got it.
independent films come much later, but all of
Got
these
it.
are very much studio films.
Mhm.
So
I
Yeah,
think
Varun,
if-
sorry, go
if
ahead.
I may, yeah.
Yeah.
I
no,
think the narration also owes a fair bit to Raymond Chandler and
Huh.
Dashiell Hammett.
yeah.
Yes.
Then
Because-
in the 40s, they start becoming popular in Hollywood, and John Huston, of course, I think has
Mhm.
no. John Huston, I think, has the first big hit, so to speak, with
what
Chandler
Maltese-
novel, the Maltese
Maltese
Falcon,
Maltese
Falcon,
Falcon?
1941.
Mhm.
41,
1940,
Maltese Falcon.
41, 42, yeah.
Hmm.
Because hardboiled fiction became much
Yeah.
much more popular after the Great Depression because people
Mhm.
were so angry. It's the same problem. It's the same thing we had with the angry young man movement in India.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
the same thing. So
Yep.
when hardboiled fiction became popular, people needed a hero to latch on to, right? But the
Mhm.
hero needed to be cynical. The hero didn't need to be a hero's journey type of a hero like a Luke Skywalker.
And he
That's
also
what
needed
the
to be flawed.
Yes,
Yes.
the hero needed to be flawed.
Very, very, very,
Yeah.
Very,
convincing.
very
Yeah.
flawed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from that point on, we got the detective, insurance investigator, and all of that.
Yeah.
And then this is the most interesting addition:
Mhm.
the femme fatale.
Yes.
Yeah.
The femme
That's
fatale.
the yeah. No, I was
Yeah.
about to say that is the almost that's like if you say noir, you expect one.
You expect,
right? Kind of
yeah.
like that.
The femme fatale became the symbol of the forbidden apple, the
Mhm.
lure, the temptation.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the femme fatale, given much more definition, it started to become more and more prominent after, say, a 44, 45,
Mhm.
to some degree even 46. I think the
Mhm.
thrillers didn't use her that well. But
Mhm.
Double Indemnity, Barbara Stanwyck, she became one of the
Yes.
definitive femme fatales in a
Hmm.
way. But the femme fatale's definition was always a person or a woman who either tried to seduce the investigator, who tried
Yeah.
to seduce the investigator for her own ends, or
Mhm.
who tried to distract the investigator while the crime is going on.
Yeah.
That was always the job or the
Yeah.
marker of the femme fatale.
So interesting. I know there's a lot of writing done on the femme fatale and how that's. I mean, it's easy to look at it in one way and say that, oh, look, they were sort of,
It could be
villainizing
taken as
the woman figure.
it could be taken as villainizing the woman figure, villainizing the sexuality,
Yeah.
villainizing the sexual promiscuity or whatever the hell.
Yeah,
Or it could also be taken as a power move.
that's what
Because
I was
now
about to. Yeah.
it could
Yeah.
also
The
be taken as a
agency,
power
right?
move.
They have,
Agency.
yeah.
It's agency. And it's always agency, because if you are going to show agency like that, just go out with a bang. Why not? And
Yeah,
if you are
yeah.
going to go out with a bang, just go out with a bang like a.
But they couldn't
course.
show the bang, right? Because it was Hays Code.
They couldn't show
Hays
the
Code.
bang, and that's why the Hays Code thing happened.
I'm proud
Yeah.
of that, but okay, go ahead. Sorry. Yes.
No, so when
Ladies
does
and gentlemen,
cop
this is
noir
what I
become a
deal
thing?
with. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I deal with. Badly made puns. Continue.
So I'm more curious about, like, we've covered the basic things
Yeah.
of noir, but I'm curious about, when does cop noir become a thing? Like, when do we say, okay, we'll trust the government with this?
It's not
So
the government, right? It's a private detective. It's
No, but I
because
think the
cop noir
government
becomes a thing.
the
At some point.
government thing comes, I think, during this post-war, especially. I think at least this was during
I think
YT.
detective story.
At least
the
when I was
hardboiled fiction.
writing.
Again, the hardboiled fiction, right? The hardboiled fiction becomes popular,
but
like the Chandler novels and all of that.
Yeah,
I think
but they are
a
still,
lot of
Chandler is still a private detective.
but I think
Yeah.
the post-war
Was
noir,
a
like
private
till
detective,
your sort of, I think your Big Sleep, which you can probably go and deal with later also. But like,
and another addition also I will have to put in the noir feature.
Yeah.
Let me just put it in, and
Yeah.
then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Extremely complicated plots.
yes,
To sometimes
Though,
the detriment,
weirdly,
the detriment of the narrative.
yes,
But again, the complicacy of the plot always become a feature. It never
Yes.
becomes a bug.
I mean,
If you
that
can
is
follow-
part and parcel of
That
the
is part
thing.
and parcel always.
Yeah, I mean,
because
this
they
is
will be
our
able
also
to-
defense of Decision to Leave. So I think this
Yes.
this is dovetailed into that.
Decision to Leave, another bloody good neo noir. Just
Yes.
putting it out there.
Yeah.
One of the best.
But complicated plots do serve because
I was
the
about to
viewer
say the
is not
ones we
supposed
are-
to be keeping pace.
Yeah, I was about to say what we watched actually have much more rigorous, like
Straightforward.
comparatively plots. In any case, I was about to say the cop noir thing is very interesting because I think I was reading up on this where post noir this comes closer to the B noir almost, right? Where in the 1950s and all, Hollywood was undergoing this whole scare, right? The whole Red Scare was happening
Yeah, the
also in
Red
the
Scare.
sense, and
Yes,
then the house of uncommon
Un-American
activity,
activities.
un-American
Un-American
activity. Yes. So I think a lot of the films at that time sort of went for this, and this kind of bleeds into the Hays Code also, which is this governing sort of censorship force, which had been in Hollywood for the longest time. They went for these sort of they needed to have like a moralizing presence for, or equalizer for that, the confused criminal almost. And then it's almost like, the cop needed to be there to sort of, rectify whatever the lunacy has been going on.
Justice
Okay.
sort of.
Yeah.
So
had to be done.
And the lunatics
so
were
again,
communists,
yeah.
and then the cops were
Yeah.
supposed to be the institutional
It's
whatever.
always that. It's also
Yes.
like the cop also came from, again, it's also a very Hitchcockian thing that a person who has been wrongly accused has to solve his own,
Yes.
has to solve his own murder, or has to
Yes.
solve the own frame up and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So it kind of also evolved from that. Like there's a
Mhm.
1940s movie called Stranger on the Third Floor. That's it.
Mhm.
That movie is kind of taken as the first true film noir of
Mhm.
1940. Even though I think Rebecca released the same year, or I think They Live by Night.
Rebecca is 39, I think.
No, 40.
40 something. Yeah.
40,
Yeah.
40 something, no, 40.
40 hai? Okay, 40
Yeah,
hai.
40 hai.
Okay.
And They Live by Night. Yeah, so
Yeah.
those two came out in the same year, but Stranger on
Yeah.
the Third Floor, I think, was the first true film noir of the 1940 to 1959. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, Rebecca also has shades of gothic, I think, a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
more.
Yeah, it's
than-
also, if you look at the novel, it's not got anything to do with noir. So
Yeah,
that takes
exactly.
the entire
Stranger
situation.
on the Third Floor, interestingly, also stars Peter Lorre.
Good. That's a segue. This is Fritz Lang's M, not Joseph Losey's M, which came 20 years later. I don't know how
Which I'm very
that's done.
curious to watch also.
Yeah,
Now
the
I'm
American
curious to watch.
remake, because
Yeah.
Has
Joseph
Stray Dog
Losey
also been remade? Because
in
both M
yes.
and Double Indemnity have been remade. Stray Dog has also been remade.
It was written on the Wikipedia that it was remade as a TV thingy. But not. I'm surprised America didn't not take it up and remake it in the English.
I think they still
How will you
respected
remake Stray
Kurosawa at the time.
No, you can't remake Stray Dog, na?
I
Because
just
Stray
said it in post-war America. Or Amartya, they've done
Or
worse
Robert of
crimes.
Nuance.
Yeah,
Robert
that
of
is true.
Nuance.
That is true.
Yeah.
Who's
I mean,
actually nuanced to do a remake?
but who cares about nuance?
Who
What
cares
are
about
we talking
nuance?
Exactly
about?
right. Which is
Who cares about
something
nuance?
something like Drishyam in Malayalam can be replicated as Drishyam in Hindi without caring for cultural context.
Yes.
Whatever the film is trying to borrow from
But then
Kerala
again,
does not actually.
Drishyam is a very different example. Right?
You
Because
gotten Drishyam
No,
into a
but-
discussion of noir. Wow.
the
I mean, I'm
core
proud.
story of
Cultural
I'm
Drishyam is-
proud
context.
of the.
The
yes,
core
I know,
story
I
of
know.
Drishyam is basically Higashino's
Higashino's
Suspect X.
Devotion of
Devotion of
Suspect X,
Suspect X, which is a very quintessentially Japanese story anyway.
Hmm.
So
right.
they're just taking the core story and then supplanting
No,
it
so
with-
we'd had a class on this, and which was that entire subplot in Drishyam with the police, friends with the police initiative, or the police are your friends initiative, is actually an initiative in Kerala. But it is not so in Goa. So why are you taking that cultural
okay.
context out of the place where it is,
Because
Yeah.
we
which
are
it is.
talking
Yeah,
because we are
because we are
talking about we are
Ajay
talking
Devgan.
about we are talking about Malayalam film industry who actually gives a shit about putting a cultural context pin into all of this and doing all that. Then we are talking about Bollywood who doesn't give two shits.
Okay.
So you get the
Okay.
idea.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah.
America
We-
is the same, right? I mean,
Exactly. I was about to say.
Yeah,
that's
of
my
course.
point.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. I mean, mainstream stuff operates more on sort of macro principles than micro, right? So it's fine.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
We go to M. We had promised to keep this the happiest episode ever recorded. Let's not get bogged down in Bollywood and Hollywood problems. Anyways,
Listen. This is about a cynicism. This genre is about cynicism. I'm going
we
be
were
cynical
supposed to be
about-
happy about the fact that we are
cynicism.
discussing cynicism, Amartya. That's what I'm saying.
And there is going to be no haze code here, so I'm going to be explicit as F. So there you
Why?
go.
You've done pretty well till now. I mean, I don't need to anyways, we go to not Hollywood first. We go to the German film industry.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
We go to
which is also very, how do I say this? Very poetic because Fritz Lang.
Yes,
one of the
yeah,
great
who've
filmmakers of
made
Hollywood.
many noirs for Hollywood also later. So, but this is the sort of this isn't the beginning of noir. You can see it as the
This
sort
is
of bridge
proto-noir.
between.
This is
proto-noir,
proto-noir.
and German Expressionism extension also, almost you can sort of
Yes.
believe it as. Yeah, but M is, so for people who aren't aware of the film, it's very much like
First of all, why aren't you?
I mean, some people who are not into international cinema may not, but anyways, it's very much a sort of what you now recognize, I would say, as like a psychological cops and murderer thriller, like now what has been ruined, and unfortunately, unless when David Fincher is doing it. So yes, like a prototypical, but very much it's billed. I think Peter Law, the actor who Amartya mentioned, who was in Stranger, what was the film's name?
Stranger on the Third Floor.
Yes. So
he was also in the
Maltese
Falcon.
Falcon.
He was also in the Maltese Falcon.
And in the Hitchcock Man Who Knew Too Much. No, was it someone
The Man
else?
Who Knew Too Much? He was in Strangers.
He became a major character player in Hollywood later.
Yeah. So, but he's billed as the sort of main person in M, but it's not the case. I would say M doesn't have a central character almost, which can be both a frustrating thing and a liberating thing. I think it's liberating, and I think that's what kind of makes it different a little bit from what the noirs, which we have also come to sort of which we will talk about next. I think one of the what I had at least noted in M was this is my second watch of it, was it's more sociological almost than psychological sometimes. And I find that fascinating about that film. I know, like Amartya has mentioned, how the city itself, the urban setting plays a major role in film noir, but I feel in M, I really felt the fact that, more than psychology, he was really going for everyone in the society and like what their sort of, thought, not probing that much as almost observing and just seeing how, like I was just shocked by how, not shocked, but I was more like moved almost by how pessimistic it was. Like it was really, really awful. like the movie is great, but the depiction of everyone there is so terrible that you kind of see almost this desire. Like it's a very, like I find it very weird to see it almost as a crossroad between Weimar Germany and Nazi Germany, right? It's like you're so that society itself is so
it's anger. It's
and it's like you need a change, but you also see the change that is coming, and it's so depressing to see what is like just being built around there. And I feel, but more than social context, let's just get into the film itself. Like, what do you guys think? I know Amartya, it's one of your favorites. So
it's one of my favorites because number one, it was a talkies.
Yes, that's the other thing I was about to say.
To the listener who is listening to this podcast, let me give you a context here. Can you imagine for 20 years, for 10 years, you have been making movies in the silent movie industry, and then suddenly you get introduced and you are told that you can introduce sound.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a studio, you're going to use it over and over and over and over because it is the new thing.
Yeah.
And then you watch M and you realize the absolute restraint of Lang.
Yeah.
He's not using the sound until absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
At the last second, there is a crowd scene. There is no sound. People are walking in the road.
Yeah.
Suddenly the car stops. Suddenly a crowd comes. Then the sound bursts.
Yeah. No, it's very much.
He's telling you this is a talkie. I'm going to prove it to you that this is a talkie. You are going to hear the sound.
It's very specific sound, though. At moments it's a silent film. At moments it's a sound film. Like that's to me at least, that was the most fascinating thing on the second watch. Also, like I was just like wondering how much he isolates sound in the film. It's like attributing it to singular elements when necessary. I mean, I messed up Amartya saying after watching it the first time, the first 8 minutes of that thing are like I genuinely, it's to me the chills down the spine thing happens for me at least, because it's like the build up to the scene and just each element, like there's foreshadowing, there's everything in that scene is done in a way, and then just the suggestion, which is my sort of favorite thing with cinema, I think has become, at least, it's like suggestion holds so much power rather than
limitation is always necessary for storytelling.
Yep.
The more you don't show, the more suggestion is put in.
I mean,
The
it
more
brings the
suggestion you
viewer
put
in,
in,
right? Like it's just
yeah, the more
you are,
suggestion is
yeah,
put in, the more you ask the viewer to engage in it.
yeah,
The more you ask the viewer to engage in it, the more he becomes involved in it.
yeah.
That's
It's very
literally how it
simple. Like
works.
it seems very like simple in principle, but the way it's executed is so terrific in this. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and then there's the 30-minute section, which I feel I can understand why people lose their patience and almost, even though I didn't.
Which
So
one?
after the build, after the build up, so the build up is basically showing what this child murderer who's let loose in Germany is doing.
Hmm.
There's this 30-minute section where the film basically cuts between like different factions of Germany, what's happening there, and it's basically like, you know, you're looking at the police, the mob,
Yeah.
and
To the people.
he's
Yeah. To the
intercutting
people.
between the two to
Yeah.
make
To
a
the
suggestion.
people.
Yes.
To the people who are still losing patience and everything.
Yeah.
Just recontextualize yourself and think for a second. This is the 30s. This is the first time they're doing intercut editing.
Yes.
Just think for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
This
No,
is
no,
the
it's,
first
I
time
mean,
he's doing it,
yeah.
and it's done so brilliantly. It looks like a modern film.
Oh yeah,
It's
it does
done so
absolutely.
brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's edited so brilliantly. The fast cut, the intercut, and everything, all of it. He's shifting between so many different,
Yeah, I
points
mean,
of views.
all of the elements that will come into play later in the film also, because it's about the whole society, not about sort of, you know, Peter.
It's
Yeah.
it's also about a distinction to be put that there is always a game about the cops and robbers, right? There is a
Yes.
game. The
Yeah.
cop and the criminal will always play a game. But
Yeah.
when something happens that is so inherently evil
Yes.
that the cops and the robbers game can be forgotten because they are now going to search for something that is a blight to humanity. That's the most basic way you can describe M.
But
for what it
I
is.
think it's I'm sorry, Varun, I'll get to you after
No,
this,
no.
but I'm just going to mention one small thing is that I think it's so telling in the film, at least, that he makes this evident that the reason why the robbers are willing to do this or getting him caught is
Yes.
because they are
Because the business is being harmed.
because their business has gone down. So I mean, it's just that their motivation is explored in that way, and I'm just like, it's such a. And then later, of course, there's the whole. By the way, 1931 spoilers for this film. So please.
It's available in YouTube. Very high
Yes.
quality too.
Yes,
Yeah.
so please do watch. But the later in the film also, it's like he's indicting the mob also. He's indicting the police. It's almost like he doesn't
He's
know where the
indicting-
solution is. So like,
He's
I mean, except
he's
for the person
indicting
who
the society. He's
Yeah,
indicting the
exactly.
society itself, right? Because at the end of the day, the movie ends with basically a kangaroo court.
Yeah.
Because nobody trusts the government anymore, so it's
Yeah.
a kangaroo court.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for people who don't understand what a kangaroo court is, it's basically all of society banding together to pass judgment, irrespective of whether the government, irrespective of law and anything, because in their mind, what is justice served? In their
I
mind,
mean, and the head of that justice has committed manslaughter himself 3 times and has not been indicted yet. And I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, I'm like, this is nuts. I mean, yeah, whatever. But yes, Varun, go ahead. Sorry, I've babbled on enough because I think this watch of M sort of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff which I generally hadn't noticed before. So yes, go ahead.
My experience with M is actually quite different because I watched it, I think the day lockdown was announced, 23rd of March or something like that. Yeah.
Wow, pessimism.
So it walked straight into that. So, but I remember not really being in love with the film when I finished watching it. I liked it enough, but for some reason, Peter Lorre's acting, for instance, it is naturally of a theater variety, right? Because these were guys who were trained on the theater scene. This is not acting you're used.
It's also a silent film.
Yes, it's a silent film acting.
Yeah, so it's far more melodramatic.
Yeah.
But the film making itself, like, it's prime material for all the video essays on YouTube to have at.
Yes.
Like to explore because because it's at the same time it's a crime film, it's a detective film, it's a mob film, it's a social drama in some sense, and it's like you guys were pointing out, it's about a country. Actually, to me, it's more about a country that doesn't know what it quite is.
Yes.
Because the First World War has essentially defeated their sense of self as a nation.
Yeah.
Now they're about, I think this is released right after the Nazis got just over 1/4 of a majority in the Reichstag, which I think made them the single largest party with just 25% of the votes or whatever. And you're hurtling towards a situation which we today know was catastrophic, but at that time was still unpredictable. You didn't know what was going to happen. And I find that's reflected in the film.
Yeah.
It is a very unpredictable film. It gives you an identity crisis. Like, what the hell is going on here?
That's the best thing.
Like you said, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm about to say,
like you said, everybody is searching for this guy. Everybody is searching for this murderer.
Yeah, and everybody's searching tactics is very different. Right?
Is very different, right?
It's very, very different. Yeah.
It uses a great, I think, to make him a child murderer.
Yes.
Is perhaps even better because you see, by then, my reading of history at least is such that if he had just been killing adults, nobody would have cared.
Nobody would have batted.
He kills children. He kills children.
It's also from the same code, which in the 1920s in the gangster movies also there is always a very specific code, right? No children.
Yeah.
You can't kill kids.
You can't kill kids.
Yeah.
I think later they expanded that to women also. No women.
Animals.
No women and children.
Dogs.
Animals, I think, are fair game. Animals are fair game.
Animals are more or less fair game, unless you are watching Patal Lok and the dog is the main linchpin of the movie. But
it's another spoiler, but yes.
So, and also I think somewhere, to my mind at least, this brings also the instance of the Lindbergh kidnapping in.
Yes.
So that happens across the Atlantic.
Of course, yeah.
Keep in mind, Lindbergh has great German ties. And it's
for the people who are uninitiated, please give a brief.
So Charles Lindbergh was this American pioneer of the modern era. I mean, controversial figure, but hey, pioneer is a pioneer. I think he made the first solo transatlantic flight as well, which was documented in a film called The Spirit of St. Louis, directed by Billy Wilder.
This is the Billy Wilder spoiler coming in. Yes.
Yeah. Considered among his lesser films, I think Jimmy Stewart played Lindbergh. So in the 20s, the Lindbergh baby was kidnapped. It was called the crime of the century in the papers. It's a case which is still shrouded in much controversy, opinion. It's one of those great American crimes, right? Like the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Simpson supposedly by O.J. Simpson in 1994, or the murder of Elizabeth Short in 1947,
or the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa,
or the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa in the 70s. So it's a cultural landmark almost, and it sort of becomes this thing where a child has been taken, and I think the child was like 1 year old or something.
I think you're not far off at all that the Lindbergh kidnapping played a major role in the story. I think you hit it bang on.
And Lindbergh was so. I think I read recently a Guardian article about how many children Lindbergh had fathered in Germany. Like he could essentially form his own village at this point in that country with the number of kids he had with German women. Because he would keep coming, and he subsequently went on to be a big part of the America First and sort of the Silver Fists, I think they were called. So
the
American Nazi Party, basically.
The American Nazi Party.
He was a great champion of allying with Hitler, which is why Billy Wilder making a biopic on him is so surprising.
Yes.
There is a fantastic TV show made by David Simon, basically exploring an alternate future on that. It's called The Plot Against America.
Yeah, based on Philip Roth's novel, I think.
Philip Roth's novel. Yeah. Fantastic miniseries.
Yeah.
And the Lindbergh kidnapping also, for any film, anybody who's interested in trivia, that kind, it also apparently influenced Christopher McQuarrie's writing of The Usual Suspects.
Yes. Yes.
So... yeah, that. But I found that to be, for some reason, I just thought of Lindbergh when I watched the film. And
I think you're pretty bang on that. I think that was one that must have been one of the bigger inspirations.
But more generally, I felt like more than being a crime film, or for instance, despite Germany being home to perhaps the most significant police detective of the 20s and 30s, why am I forgetting his name? He's the man who gave us the term serial killer. Ernst Gennard.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so Gennard is, for instance, not there in the film in any shape or form.
In any shape or form,
yeah. But it's more of a social drama almost to me, that the kangaroo court at the end, and how this man is very vehemently sort of convinced that it's
but now the question,
way.
So the question arises, because this is a social message movie and everything, because that's what it is. Why are we discussing it in a discussion which is involving noir? I think
it is. I was about to say.
The biggest question, biggest answer is, first of all, the cynicism, the anger at society itself.
Yeah.
How realistically he's choosing to portray both the light and the dark aspects of the society, like the cops and the criminals. Both of them are joining together.
Yeah.
And both of them are joining together for their own motivations. There is no, for the good of the world or anything like that. None of
it.
It has never been that. And finally, the kangaroo court of it all.
Yeah.
The kangaroo court of it all is also very much a noir sensibility, because especially at the end when the woman breaks the fourth wall.
Yes. All of you
which
are.
Again, which again completely lends credence to Varun's theory that it is based on the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. That last line, we should protect our children.
Yes.
Wow. You just made me open my eyes again. Wow. There you go. There you go. That's why that last line was included. Of course. That is why.
Yeah. I also think, but even like shooting style, right? A lot of, I don't know if this is his. We've discussed the silent sound thing. This is also
the first procedural movie, because this is the movie in which all of the typical television detective movie styles,
like step by step,
all the beats you think about, fingerprints, discussion.
Yeah.
What are the steps to make a movie like this from a movie perspective? What to do in a screenplay? All of this more or less comes and crystallizes from him.
Yeah. Do you? I've seen only a bunch of other Fritz Lang, but there's so many times I was like, he uses the shot where the camera is almost top down, like it's a high angle. It's looking down on them
inside the building below.
And it's like his master shot for so many of them. It's like it's observation almost, like you don't get short reverse shots, like you get them, but you don't get them as much. You almost get like this expanded view of the world, which is sort of, sometimes it almost feels like the killer is looking, but then a lot of times it's not. Even it's a very weird.
And you're wondering whether the killer is looking or not, because he holds onto the shot for a while.
Exactly.
Whether the killer is looking at that.
No, and it's brilliant because he's making use of his limitations terrifically.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any of the complicated rigs that you can set up,
and a lot of tracking shots also actually in this. I forgot
which is bloody surprising, by the way.
All of this is like
the innovation wise, it's of course, but I do think like maybe more than the first time, this time I think I was really moved by it. I would want to say moved by just how cynical it is. I guess this is the type of thing that moves me now, rather than I don't know, like happy days.
You were also moved by decision to leave. So we were
I was also moved by women talking. So yes.
Oh yeah.
No, and also I think it sets the template for noir of not giving you an easy way out.
An easy way out,
Like
too
many movies end on that, right? That people walk into the
Hollywood
sunset
we'll come to Hollywood.
But then again, anywhere.
But then again, it's like, I think the Hays Code was introduced because they wanted to give a happy ending.
Because you had knowing people. Society's sort of thing was like nobody's happy, people are dying. Weren't there people in like Oklahoma who were eating dirt or something like that? true story, right?
No, they
But
have like
it
the
also,
fake happy endings, no, which is the interesting
But
part of
that,
a lot of the films, which,
but
yeah.
that's also the thing, right? Because studios expected that people wanted escapism. That's
Yeah.
why they
yeah,
were making more and more happy endings. But
Hmm.
the audience wanted
a
Yeah.
reflection of their reality.
reflection to a
Exactly.
certain
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah.
relatability.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
I don't
so
think M did that well when it released, at least. At least
No,
critically, even I'm guessing it would be a pretty much of a shock for a lot of people also, right? Because
also
it's
because
so.
it's long after Metropolis, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
people were like, you went from that to this?
Yes. 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 Yes.
I mean, to be fair, even after watching both those two back to back, that was my reaction also. You went from that to this.
Yeah. It's
No,
good.
but like the happy ending thing brought me to, like, I think something that borrows a fair bit from M, in fact, Babylon Berlin,
Yes.
uh, because Germany, Berlin, same
Mm-hmm.
time period, and stylistically, like, it's got the tones, even though it's shot obviously in color and wide frame
Mm-hmm.
television and all that. That does this happy ending. It almost teases you with it because television allows you to do seasons, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it gives you a happy ending at the end of the first season and then comes right back in the second and sucker punches you. And then you're like, oh god damn, I forgot this was some form
Yeah.
of noir.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to lead up to that. And just I love the fact that it, when it could have, it chose not to give you that easy way out. He's
Yeah.
being confrontational even as a killer. There's no remorse, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Whatever
about to say we
remorse
haven't.
is,
I'm surprised we've talked about M and not mentioned the iconic whistling.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
The Peter
Yeah.
Law's. I mean,
The
it
Peter Law's
is
whistling.
Peter Law's iconic whistling of
yeah,
in the
Yeah.
Hall of the
which is
Mountain King. Is that it?
Yeah, the
which
Hall
is
of the Mountain King. I had to search for it on my
Same.
Instagram story when I had seen the movie.
Yeah.
I literally put the Hall of the Mountain King as the sound cue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
It's
is
again.
almost as iconic as that instrument that plays repeatedly in Carol
In
Rain's
Third Man.
Third
Yeah.
Man.
I
Yeah,
mean, it
Third Man.
also barely. It's hardly used. The whistling actually. It's only used twice or thrice, very sparingly. It's not like he's whistling all the way through. And
it's sort of like. Sorry, complete.
no, I was just saying, and it's very interesting. This time I was watching, I was like, the whistling transfers onto the mob. Like that's the first thing that they do when they see him to get him caught. And I was like, that's a very interesting way of almost like, he's kind of equating a lot of
Yeah.
the people and like around there. And I think it's very interesting how he shifts focus to the whistling there.
That's part and use of something which then leaves an impact on the viewer
Yes,
is very
exactly.
interesting because
Yeah.
so many films do it so well. Like you come out of Silence of the Lambs thinking,
Yes.
oh, Anthony Hopkins was so great, but he's only there for what, 20 minutes.
He's only there for 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't think that of the film because
It's the impact of it, right?
yeah, exactly. So which is
a
so
lesson that should be
significant.
learned, I think, nowadays, especially because nowadays
Yes.
people have the resources to actually use or overuse stuff. I think it's best sometimes to, just, and I'm not saying every film should be use restraint. Some of them probably do benefit from excess, but like pull back sometimes just because it helps, like allow the audience to crave it. Like if you keep on supplying something, then the audience will just be bored, right? So,
but I'm wondering now, because Amartya mentioned the entire thing with sound, whether keeping the whistling down to a limited number of frames or reels or whatever you want to call it was as much a decision about, okay, I'm going to use sound in a certain way, as much as it was part of the narrative that, okay, you're only going to hear it thrice.
No, I will definitely say that it was a stylish, it was a definite choice because again, notice how he uses the sound very sparingly itself in all of those, like it's sound, it's the talkies. You can you have to put sound.
It's almost the time
right?
where transition's complete. So it's not like the beginning.
Yeah,
so
everybody is gone
to.
Yeah.
Everybody is gone to. So the fact that he's choosing to use sound at very specific moments kind of shows that it was a stylistic choice. The whistling was used. Now I got it. The whistling was used in place of intertitles.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
actually
intertitle. Now the man entered.
Yeah.
Whistling.
Yeah.
Shoes banging on the paved walk. That would have been the intertitle. Instead, he's just using the whistling. It's the same thing because in a silent movie, you would have shot the feet. You would have shot at the feet.
And I mean that the other thing which we had discussed, like the fact that a lot of times the normal actions don't have sounds, like people walking, people putting their glasses down on the table, all those things don't have sound, but this has sound. So like it's almost, he is consciously doing it. I think like it's very much he wants to create that impact of sound.
He wants to create an atmosphere.
Which is what I mean. I was a bit like blown away this time. I was like, wow, like imagine thinking of this in like 1930s and like now. And now I watched Tu Chuti Mein Makkar, where the background score is pummeling me every 2 seconds. Anyways,
you were blaming me and Varun for bringing in Bahubali and
sorry,
and now you're bringing
it. No, also you guys mentioned how there's a lack of protagonist, but I think the protagonist is in the film's subtitle: "A city searches for a murder." I think that is it. It's about the city. It's about a very specific city. You could not take M and place it randomly in
1951.
Again, like we discussed, you can remove cultural
I would
context
assume that Joseph Losey could transpose the whole House of Un-American activities onto this.
Activities,
if anybody could do it, might as well be him.
And redevelopment of California in the post-war period as well. But like you couldn't take them and set it in a country like Norway where crime is historically low.
Yes,
I think so. That's what somebody told me at least.
Then again, Scandinavian noir is a thing.
Noir is a thing, right? Because which surprising. You couldn't, for the same reasons,
Scandinavian noir is a bit like Blue Velvet almost. Like it's like the sort of prettified postcard sort of image of the country and then the underbelly. But there's always going to be violence, right? So
I don't think it's prettified.
Surprising. It's the violence. I think it's more of the impact, right? For a country, for a series of countries in which the crime rate is very low, the crime rate occurs is explicitly viscerally violent.
Exactly.
Which is why murder in America became such a thing in the 20th century, because they just weren't used to that kind of thing happening so blatantly, right? You look at a crime like I hate to keep going back to it, but how Elizabeth Short was found in Los Angeles, right? Her body had been severed in the middle and blood had been drained out. So you were looking at very systematic
way of killing,
way of killing people. So
it's weird. Again, like I know you're mentioning this, but I was just thinking about how, and we are transitioning, which is why I'm saying this, is the fact that none of the films we have watched actually have that much on-screen violence. I mean, I know some of it's a limitation of the fact that you can't show it. In the case of Double Indemnity, I think. But in the case of Stray Dog, even I can't remember. It feels violent sometimes, but I don't think it is violent, like quote unquote.
It is not that violent, no.
It feels more rough. It feels more, sort of.
I think Rashomon that comes a year later still has a more rougher edge to it almost.
Again, this was my first Kurosawa, so I can't.
You have a lot to discover.
Stray Dog is a first Kurosawa.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad. I didn't realize it's one of his first, like one of his earlier films.
Very interesting.
Yeah. But we are not going to Stray Dog. We are going to Double Indemnity.
We are going chronologically. We are going chronologically. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Los Angeles, July 16th, 1938. Dear Keyes, suppose you'll call this a confession when you hear it. Well, I don't like the word confession. I just want to set you right about something you couldn't see because it was smack up against your nose. You think you're such a hot potato as a claims manager, such a wolf on a phony claim. Maybe you are. But let's take a look at that Dietrichson claim. Accident and double indemnity. You were pretty good in there for a while, Keyes. You said it wasn't an accident. Check. You said it wasn't suicide. Check. You said it was murder. Check. You thought you had a cold, didn't you? All wrapped up in tissue paper with pink ribbons around it. It was perfect. Except it wasn't, because you made one mistake. Just one little mistake.
Double Indemnity, guys. Billy Wilder, 1944. Hays Code. Everything is going on. War is going on.
Just putting it out there right now. Greatest filmmaker of his time and probably the greatest screenwriter to ever live.
Yes, I'm not going to disagree with that at all.
I will also not disagree, but I will.
The guy was a prolific.
The only thing I'll say is I was surprised that this watch I was a little detached, which is a weird thing to say, and I wasn't in the first watch from Double Indemnity. Anyways,
so
but that's a minor complaint. I love whatever I've seen from him, and I will let you guys roll with this because I think you both are bigger experts of Billy Wilder. So yes, go ahead.
I'm not a bigger expert on Billy Wilder per se. I think if I have to put a expertise tag on it, it's like, okay, so Double Indemnity comes out 44.
44.
Yeah.
We are 4 years into the noir
Yes.
being a legitimate thing now.
Casablanca came before this, right? If I'm not
Casablanca
Much
came
before,
42. Casablanca came 42.
But is Casablanca noir?
Yes,
His
I
movie
would say it
Casablanca,
is.
Casablanca
it is.
kind of is, kind of isn't. It
I
kind
think
of,
it
with
is,
the,
huh?
with the
Like I watched it
espionage bits,
recently.
it is.
Huh.
But like,
It's
I don't know
not
whether I'm-
totally, but I think it does, like the stylistics or stylish choices or style is there to sort of
Hmm.
argue that it is in it. Anyways, my point was just my mistake. to
I don't
bring it
know
up.
for some reason I keep thinking of noir as being anti-studio, and the first impression I have when you say
No,
Casablanca is the Warner Brothers logo, and Jack Warner's name is written there for like
you are telling
Well-
Casablanca is the
opening
primary
frame of that.
example of Casablanca is the primary example of a movie which proves that the studio meddling actually works.
Mm,
That is
That's
the
Michael
primary
Curtis.
example.
Michael
Yeah.
Curtis
yes,
directed.
Michael Curtis. Yes.
Yeah, that is the primary example of studio meddling actually working. That is the one example every studio brings up to a director.
But Warner
Look
Brothers
at
did the
Casablanca.
gangster films right before in the 30s. So I think this naturally
With Howard Hawks and
Yeah.
other people
yeah.
also, like a lot
Scarface.
of Melvin,
Scarface was there?
Elroy.
Scarface was 30. Scarface was, I think,
40,
30,
no? I think?
32.
Oh, no.
32.
Yeah,
Scarface.
32.
before? Okay,
32.
okay.
Yeah, before.
It was
James
like,
Cagney was the Warner Brother guy, right?
yeah, Jim Cagney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And then also the Billy Wilder guy.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's put this out there. 44, Double Indemnity comes out. So film noir by that time started to be, because the mid 1930s used to be the pre-code era. By
Mhm.
code I mean the Hays Code.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at movies in the pre-code era, those focused on women being very, liberated,
Mm-hmm.
sexually liberated, very open women, like open people. Like there were films which dealt with polygamy, if I'm not
Mhm.
wrong. There were films like that. So
Mhm.
all the
I mean, they
pre-code,
didn't
there are-
show it, but there's like, yes.
they didn't show it, but it was
Yeah.
there. Like Criterion Channel, I think, is currently running a pre-code Paramount Pictures, I think, five movie
Yep.
series. So
Mm.
if you want, you can check those out. So
Criterion
that's the thing.
sponsor, please. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, but end of the pre-code era, after the mid 1930s,
Hmm.
this becomes a thing that portrayals of women of kind of sort of questionable character.
Yes.
That started to become a thing after the pre-code era ended.
Mhm.
It started with, if I'm not wrong, I think it more or less the singular movie in all of this was Double Indemnity.
Mhm.
44.
Uncle Paul, just to mention, Uncle Paul, this is Paul Schrader, which
Yeah.
is what I'm going to call him from now because he's seen it.
He's an uncle only. So
Yeah. I mean,
I
yes.
thought Uncle Paul was some movie.
No. There will be a movie on him someday. No. Uncle Paul says that Double Indemnity is almost a bridge between early noir and the post-war
Yes.
noir.
Post-war noir, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because the war is almost won, right? By the
Yeah.
time Double Indemnity comes out.
44, yeah.
Yeah.
44.
What part of your? I'll just check. So my statement should be historically accurate.
Yeah. Like, because the femme fatale,
Mhm.
the relationship of the femme fatale with the private eye was a thing
Yes.
from 1941 with Maltese Falcon. Then we had
Mhm.
Murder My Sweet.
Mhm.
Murder My Sweet. Then we have Out of the Past came later. Anyway, so you get the idea. But Double Indemnity was the movie directed by Billy Wilder, which kind of basically put the mold of what a femme fatale should be.
Yeah.
And one of the primary things I remember about Double Indemnity, more than the fact that it is a noir, is the dialogues. Holy hell, the dialogues.
Yes. The dialogue writing is insane in this movie.
It's insane.
Especially
It's
Edward G. Robinson,
Edward G. Robinson.
and
Yeah.
Barbara Stanwyck's, both of their dialogue separately from each other, like in their conversations with the protagonist. They're absolutely like I think at one point our protagonist Walter Neff, played by Fred McMurray,
Again, Fred McMurray in a role
Yes.
completely different to roles he had played in the past. All
Yes.
the roles Fred McMurray had played in the past were family men, harried fathers, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is very different. He's very
I mean,
sleazy.
he's totally sleazy. There's nothing.
He's
He's an
fully sleazy.
insurance salesman. What else do you
Yeah.
want?
He's an insurance salesman.
Yes.
Also, the screenplay is written by Billy Wilder and Raymond Chandler.
And Raymond
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
And
James
adapted from a
Cain
James
novel.
Cain novel.
James
yeah.
M.
James Cain novel.
And they
Pedigree
changed a lot of the
highest-
dialogue. I was reading a little bit.
Sleazy pedigree of the highest order. This is not noir. What else is at this point?
No, but I think this. What was I saying? I forgot. You guys continue. Sorry, I forgot. I will cut this out.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'll cut this out. Like what my forgetting, I'll cut out. Not nothing else.
Okay. No.
Yes.
That's not what I was talking about. Anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Oh yes,
we
now
have-
I remembered. Sorry, can I speak?
Okay.
My
Okay.
No. There's one moment in this where the Fred McMurray character basically says, "Can you make it more snappy, like the dialogue, or like can you like
Yes.
just speak more snappily?" And I was like, "That's perfectly like an articulate way of saying how everyone in this film talks in a way is very snappy. It's very every dialogue has like that retort, like really sharp retort, which is like very witty, but it's also like loaded with like all sorts. And again, this kind of plays into the Hayes Code and the limitations. And it's like the sexual nature of the flirtation. Everything is being communicated via their quick fire banter or like whatever you want to say.
There is a line in which Walter Neff's character says, "I loved her like a rabbit loves a rattlesnake." I think Barbara Stanwyck's character was the most, how do I say this, the most incomparable of them all, because this is a character who is going toe to toe with this sleazy insurance salesman.
Yeah.
And it's like the audience is looking at them. It's like a fire, it's like it's like somebody just lit a flame.
Yeah.
Oil is already split. You just lit the match.
Honeycomb has been spilled already, or whatever that thing is. They keep on talking about the honeycomb in the film. And what is with Baby? Is that a reference to Babyface? Barbara Stanwyck is played like the lead actor in. The number of times Walter says "baby" in this film, you could literally.
I think
it's endearment.
No, and your noir protagonists always had some sort of takia kalam, right?
Okay.
Sam Spade also had a takia kalam going on.
It's so good. Like I enjoyed it. Like the number of times he was saying "baby," I was like, "This is so good." Like just in the terms of
I'm going to just quote some of the dialogues here, which is insane.
Yes. I was about to say the dialogues only. I'm going to.
Yes. So it starts off like Mr. Neff, because Phyllis, that is Barbara Stanwyck's character, is saying, "Okay, Mr. Neff, why don't you drop by tomorrow evening about 8:30? He'll be in then." And Walter is saying, "Who? My husband. You were anxious to talk to him, weren't you?" "Yeah, I was, but I'm sort of getting over the idea, if you know what I mean." Now, when you get this type of a dialogue, your instant reaction is, okay, that's pretty clever. But she rolls with it. She's like,
"There's a speed limit in this state, Mr. Neff. 45 miles an hour.
How fast was I going, officer?
I'd say around 90.
Suppose you get down off your motorcycle and give me a ticket.
Suppose I let you off with a warning this time.
Suppose it doesn't take.
Suppose I have to whack you over the knuckles.
Suppose I bust out crying and put my head in your shoulder.
Suppose you try putting it on my husband's shoulder.
That tears it.
Yeah. I mean, it is really like enjoyable in that sense, but it has that lurking. I mean, see, I guess I was trying to decipher, I guess, why I was slightly distanced, and maybe I was like, it's probably because it's so narration heavy. Like it has a lot. I realized, like I'd never clocked it before. I know that a lot of noir does, but like this has, like, it is very fatalistic from the beginning. Like we begin at the end, right? And it's like you get
let's go back kind of like that.
Exactly. So it's that fatalism, but I feel sometimes the narration kind of has a blunting effect on the main performance, if anything else. But apart from that, I mean, the Edward G. Robinson character and his relationship with Neff, I thought really shone through this time, at least
he's the straight man, right? He's the person who is trying it's interesting. He's the person who is trying to help pull Walter out, and to a certain degree even the audience out
Yes.
of the
Him and
attraction
Lola
we are,
almost.
yeah,
Dietrich
yeah,
and
yeah,
the other guy.
of the attraction we are getting from both of their chemistry as
Yeah.
well as the ultimate danger we are facing, because at the end of the day we are also being pulled in, because the dialogues you heard, when you
Mhm.
see it in the movie, the impact
Mhm.
is greater because it's that fast.
Yeah, because we are not. Yeah, I mean, we can't
we are not
replicate that.
that quick. We are not that quick. It's that fast, and the chemistry is electric. We are
Yeah.
already drawn in. We want to see what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And Edward D. Robinson's character is the sensible one in the lot, because he knows that shit is going to go down, and it's going to
Yeah.
go down bad.
I just, in fact, made a note about
Yeah.
why we probably sympathize with Fred MacMurray's character.
Mhm.
I'll again go back to my first memory. This is the fourth Wilder film I watched, and unlike what the internet tells us about Fred MacMurray, I had a bad inkling or bad introduction to Fred MacMurray because my first meeting with him as an actor is through The Apartment, in which he's the asshole.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, best Wilder film again. So
I don't disagree, except I've seen Double Indemnity, so I kind of disagree. But anyway.
No, Double Indemnity is again not even, I think, in my top 5 Wilder films. I really enjoy it, but of the 10-15 odd films I've watched of his, it's not there.
Again, I love The Apartment. I have watched it very
Do
recently.
not spoil it because I've not seen it.
Oh, you've not seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, you have not seen it. Watch it.
Yeah.
So I think, and also I think the previous day watched Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, wow.
I've also not seen Sunset Boulevard, so don't spoil it.
That's like terrific.
Listen, I have my European and other art house priorities have taken over, but I will get to it 100%.
Hey, I mean, Wilder is European. So
oh yes, that's true. But not like classic Hollywood is always
not a very American. He's not a very American.
He's not actually. Yeah.
I know.
The hangover from his first film, which is Bad Seed, a film he co-directed with Alexander Esway in 1934 in France, funnily enough, not even in Germany, is very, very evident in the rest of his work. So anyway, so I think the Sunset Boulevard, Stalag 17 kind of hangover was still there when I watched Double Indemnity. So I really, really enjoyed it, and I could relate it to a lot of the stuff that I had played. Or for instance, there's this game, the one I'm doing the paper on, is called LA Noir by Rockstar and Team Bondi.
Yeah.
And they borrow heavily from the classical.
I love that game. It becomes a tad bit repetitive to a certain sense, to a certain similar, but I love that game.
So it's, and I think that sort of drew me to the genre actually, in a way. But there's some interesting things about why I was so keen on checking Double Indemnity's release date, is because while one can't doubt or one can't wonder why Wilder and Chandler wrote it in a certain way, because there's a novel and all of that. I think the response to it being the way it was the war was essentially won. The film releases a month after the Normandy landing at the beaches in France. So there's now an upbeat mood. So
that's why the comedy also
but
is.
I was about to say this feels very detached almost from the war. Like it feels very much in a different world, existing in a different world.
Also because essentially then you are not, if it had released, say at a time when the war was going horribly wrong for the Allies, right before the American success.
Let's be perfectly clear. Check Maltese Falcon or check Murder My Sweet. The cynicism in those movies is very different from the cynicism in this.
And so what I feel is that here then a character who's essentially a profiteer is not looked upon as badly, whereas profiteering otherwise by anybody in a time of war is bad. War profiteering, of course, was a huge crime back in the day. As well. So, which is why we are willing to now put up with this guy, because we're like, oh, the war is we're okay.
Also, by this time, because this is again an art form. Art has always been political. Art has always been sociological. So when a genre begins, it always begins as a response to an event, as a response to a politics of a different state. But by the time the genre becomes a popular thing, by the time the genre is crystallized, It
Mhm.
moves beyond what is reason as a response of.
Mhm.
It becomes so reliant on its tropes and everything
Yep.
else
Yeah.
that it doesn't need to be a commentary on what it rose as a response
Yep.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened with Double Indemnity. It
Mhm.
rose as a response to the
Mhm.
Great Depression, the war, and
Right.
everything
Mhm.
else. By the time it came out, war was already won.
Already won.
Yep.
Yeah. So then the entire situation of the film changes.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I also feel that we would perhaps like the film as much even if it hadn't released after the Normandy landings, if it had
Mhm.
released before.
Yeah.
And the reason I have for this is because I really, really like Stalag 17,
Mhm.
which releases at a time when the Red Scare is going on.
Mhm.
Yep.
And Billy Wilder decides to create this unsympathetic prisoner of war character.
Mhm.
And he grabs hold of one of the most popular faces, William Holden, and says, play this guy.
Mhm.
Right. And sure, you've got Preminger playing the evil Nazi commandant of the camp and all that. But
Mhm.
it's still a sense of, hey, hold on, are you pointing fingers at our boys who are doing the hard fighting in Korea or
Mhm.
wherever the hell the Americans were in the early 50s?
Stalag 17 came out when?
53, I think, or
53.
maybe a little
Mhm.
later.
Yeah, this
I
is not.
haven't
Yeah,
checked
this
that.
is not. This is not like Sergio Leone, right? Who basically hires Henry Fonda, the poster boy of American heroes, and casts him as the fucking villain in Once Upon a Time in the West. This is not that yet.
No.
Yeah.
So, and again, insurance investigators, you're like, huh,
Do
do I
you?
trust this
But
guy?
I
Do
was
I not
about
trust
to.
this guy?
No, I was about to ask. Like this whole, I felt it was fairly. It was very like darkly funny about the whole insurance thing. Like I
Yeah.
felt it was very like cynical also about how they approach life and
Also
how they
interesting
approach
thing.
their sort
Also
of
interesting thing. Yeah. Also interesting thing. I recently watched Robert Siodmak's The Killers,
yes.
the 46 movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go too deep into it. The
Mm-hmm.
movie I think has a protagonist problem, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the key characters in it is an insurance investigator.
Mm-hmm.
This is just my thought, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it came as a response to Double Indemnity in a way because Double
Okay.
Indemnity kind of villainized the insurance investigator.
Yeah.
This is kind of trying to reel him back.
Okay.
I don't think it did it very successfully, but
Okay.
kind of is trying to reel him back. Kind of
Okay.
is trying to
Got it.
Yeah.
give him more of a redemption in a way.
Understood. I mean, this paints all of them really like there's no one in this that comes across any like apart from Lola Dietrichson, the person who they kill, his daughter, who's the
Yeah.
sort of almost the most saintly figure, I suppose, out of all of them.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just a scumbag of some sorts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know Edward G. Robinson is slightly pushed as but his attitude towards like his attitude is essentially to find out fraud when they have to pay their money out. So it's not like he's supposed to be this really
I mean,
cheery
he's a
guy.
guy who's in business. You could just say he's
Exactly.
an American capitalist.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's basically
exactly.
capitalism.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Though
at its
I love the
core,
scene where
base
he's
tenet.
up against the higher up at the all risk insurance company. I thought that's a great scene. His
Yeah.
putting down of that guy who's at the top,
Yeah.
and he's like, "You take the ball and run with it," and he's like, "You ran with it really well, didn't you?"
You ran with it really well, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and also to my mind, this is the sort of film that, again, you can talk about the femme fatale, like we were talking about
Yes.
agency possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But agency with women is a recurring theme in Billy Wilder's films at a time when women were really, I mean, you had people like John Huston and John Ford making films, and they didn't really have great regard for women, at least in their personal lives. So for it to, how much of it would then translate to their films? Houston is pretty much another Lindbergh for that matter, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that he is. That he definitely is.
Oh.
I should tell you, Chinatown.
Yes, I
is
was about to
basically Houston playing himself.
I thought he was
I
playing
mean,
the
I don't think
Polanski
about
stand-in.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my reading of the film is poor. I don't like Chinatown for that reason, is because Polanski would pull the same crime out of nowhere 3 years later.
Out of nowhere, yeah.
Yeah, and it would just then spitball into an incident. But hey, I mean, Houston is great in that film.
Yes.
He's just
Houston is bloody
so
fantastic.
memorable.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
so
Houston is so memorable in that film. His grandson tried to play the same role in the 2022 Marlowe adaptation. Oh yeah.
This is
Oh,
your
yeah.
Marlowe. This
Her
is your
grandson.
Marlowe thing, right? This is
That's
your
his
Marlowe
son.
intro.
That's his son. Yeah, Danny
Danny
Houston.
Houston is his son. Jack
Yeah.
is the grandson.
Yeah, Jack is the grandson. Danny Houston
Of
is
course,
the son.
Amartya, you had to put Marlowe in somewhere, right?
Actually,
This is
again,
the
I must
Neil.
lead with the trivia for some reason.
Yes.
Because Jamie
No,
Lee
no
Curtis
problem.
won her Oscar. I was again reminded of, for some reason, John Huston, because she's been going around, right, the entire award season, calling herself a Nepo baby and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was just
Oh,
reminded of
I didn't know
the
this.
great distinction that John Huston has of directing a parent and a child of his 2 Oscar wins.
Wow.
He's
I
directed
mean,
his
I didn't
father
know this
in.
Jamie Lee Curtis thing has been going on, but
Yeah,
okay.
she.
Oh
went
yeah,
and
she
did
has
it
been calling
somewhere.
herself as the Nepo baby who is actually good.
Yeah.
I mean, she is good. There's no doubt, but like, I mean,
There's no doubt about it, but yeah.
yeah.
Okay, no need to flog the fact that your dad is
exactly.
Tony Curtis, though.
Exactly.
Yes.
So these are very interesting
Mhm.
themes, like Shirley MacLaine's character in The Apartment. She is backed into a corner, right?
Mhm.
And she's not
The thing
willing
about
to.
Billy Wilder is he's always going to make his women characters, at least my reading is out of some of the movies I've seen, his women characters are very 3-dimensional, very complicated, but very strong.
Yep. I mean, in
In
this
their own
also,
way,
like
they're very strong.
in
Yeah.
Double Indemnity,
Like
there's
Phyllis's-
that.
Phyllis's character, yeah.
But Phyllis in the end has that really like one line, like I almost about like before she shoots him once, Fred McMurray, but after that she's like, but before, like, this is the first time I've stopped after, like, that just
Yes.
kind of pushes it, like, you know, you have that until then
she's like-
she is very much that
Yeah.
almost
She's
evil, right?
driving-
Like
She's driving the plot. She's
Yeah.
literally driving the plot.
Yeah.
Phyllis
Yeah,
Reed.
I mean, there's that really amazing moment, I think, when Fred kills her husband and the camera just doesn't show it because, of course, it's a
Yeah.
code
Of course,
thing
you can't
probably
show
also.
it. Yeah.
And but then it chooses to focus on her face, and it's like almost
On her
she
face.
gains the power, and like she has like that really incredible
Yeah.
change in expression at that moment. I thought it was great.
So the
Anyways,
noir element.
yes, go ahead.
So the
yes.
noir
Noir.
element in Double Indemnity, basically, it's more like, again, it opens with the voiceover. It opens
Yep.
with the point of view.
Oh,
point of view
I was
of-
about to say the opening with the voiceover, one of my favorite lines. Like, I know it's so
opens with the
pulpy.
voiceover. Opens with a tracking shot.
Yes.
Shot.
No, but it's such a pulpy bit of that where he's like, I murdered him because I wanted for the money and for the girl.
Yes, I killed
And I
him. I
got-
killed him for money and
yeah.
the woman. And I didn't
And I
get the
did-
money and I didn't get the woman. Pretty,
Yes,
isn't it?
exactly. And with like really like he takes a pause and he's like, and I didn't get the like it's such a playful almost now it feels like, because you know the tropes and all that. Yeah. Anyways, you were saying.
No, what I was saying is it's more like, how do you put this, right? It's a crime told from the point of view of,
Yep.
again, an insurance salesman, which is hilarious. and
Yeah.
opens with the tracking shot, beautiful tracking shot.
Yeah.
Then it's the, it's kind of like the sexual chemistry, the psychosexual themes, the femme fatale, all of it. Visually
It takes
very
place
dark.
a lot.
very-
Yeah, about to say. It takes
Visually very
place,
dark,
yeah.
very claustrophobic. Yeah.
There's
Almost
especially the
entirely indoors, right?
Almost
Except
a
entirely
lot of the
indoors.
indoors are. Was it
Yeah.
shot on a set? That's the other interesting. Sort of-
100%. 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
This is
Yeah.
sort of studio noir then, like a lot of the studio stuff.
Also it is very also I think it opens in the present and then goes into flashback. If I'm not mistaken, I think Billy Wilder uses the same frame in Sunset Boulevard as well. So
Yes,
Yes.
he does.
yeah, and then there is also, because Double Indemnity voiceover is a key thing.
Mhm.
Always
Mhm.
voiceover has always been a very key thing, which kind of also reminds me of another nasty little noir I had seen, which Dhruv had recommended to me.
Yes, I was about to say it's such a good film.
It's such a nasty noir. It's like, holy crap, this is so good. It is Detour.
Yeah. 81 minutes or something.
I think 81 minutes.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, it might have been 70. Let me check.
Yeah, it might be 70 minutes also, which I'm like, come on, like that's my
68.
speed.
68 minutes.
68 minutes. That's my
It just about qualifies as a feature. Just
exactly.
about.
Yes, yeah.
And that's why I brought Detour up. I brought Detour up? Because Detour is the prime example of a B-movie noir.
Yeah.
Now, a B-movie noir is an independently made film noir. And
Mhm.
before I get into that, just a quick heads up on what an A movie and a B movie is.
Mhm.
An A movie is a studio bankrolled big feature movie
Yep.
which people used to go pay tickets for. That is
Hmm.
what you paid the big bucks for. A B movie is an independently made feature film
Yep.
which used to come after the A movie, which
Hmm.
people in the late night circuit after the movie has ended, if they want to stay, they
Hmm.
can watch the B movie. The
Mhm.
B movie usually used to be a far more pulpier film.
Mhm.
They used to be made on the cheap.
More
Because again,
explicit in violence,
it's film stock.
probably, and
It's
like
yeah, it's film stock. It's film stock.
Yeah.
It's film reels. They did not have time. You can't waste too much film stock. So you need to make everything very quick. You need to make everything
Bollywood
very
should
fast.
have that rule
Kota, I think,
nowadays, huh?
were these the same films that were called the Kota Quickies?
Were they? No, I think
I
those
think
were the
so, right?
serials. Those were the serials, sir.
No, those weren't the serials. I'm pretty certain they weren't the serials.
Then I think those were the quickies. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's almost like what the British would do at
Mhm.
Ealing with the comedies later
Exactly.
on.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
Ealing comedies were the same.
Same
concept.
thing. Again, Lady Killer's great film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the Coens ones, right?
Not the
No,
Coens
that's
one.
a terrible film.
Not the Coens.
Quite
one.
sad.
That's a
I've not
bad
seen a
movie.
single bad Coens film, but I need to. I've clearly not seen
That and
Lady Killers.
Intolerable Cruelty you need to watch.
Not seen either. Then yes, yeah.
So
Anyways, yes.
So the B movie thing. Why I'm bringing it up?
Mhm.
It feels like a B movie.
Oh yeah, it
because
does. No, but it's got
it's-
real artistry, huh? Like the way it's cut
No,
and
no,
like
no, no.
yeah.
Why I'm bringing the B movie thing up because we need to understand why the runtime is low. The runtime is low because these people really needed to hit all the tropes really quick.
Mhm.
Because the guys who were watching the movie weren't going to sit on their seats,
Yes.
sit on their asses for a very long time. They will need to go home to their families.
Yeah, they've
So
become
needed to
basically like
finish-
now, like what happens with every movie now, and no one wants
Yeah.
to sit and watch a movie, right? Yeah.
Whatever, that's your opinion. My point being that people need to return home quickly. So you need to create movies which are fast, quick, which delivers the goods very easily.
Mm-hmm.
So the screenplay needs to be that quick.
Mm-hmm.
And within that, because it's quick and because it doesn't have studio oversight and everything else, they were allowed to push the envelope a tad bit more most of the time. Always. So, and because these are independent movies, most of these are guerrilla shot, and also very interestingly, all these
real
movies
life
which
location, no sets and all that.
Yes.
So yes, that's
and
another
also these
distinction.
movies, most of these movies which have been done independently, most of these movies have been done by RKO Production. RKO,
who
that shut
bankrolled
down.
Citizen K.
RKO that shut down. Yeah.
Yes.
It kind of reminds you of in Japan the Nikatsu films.
Amazing, Amartya. Amazing.
Wells probably bankrupted them with his overruns on Citizen Kane.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Fine. Wells will be talked sometime. Actually, I really want to watch a lot of the work he's done.
Sons of Evil, right?
I was going to bring that up. Wait,
I was about to say.
Give me a minute. I'll bring that up.
I thought you transitioned nicely when you mentioned Japan. I was like,
I will finish the American part quickly and then I'm done.
Okay, fine.
So it's like no, because Detour brings a characteristic of this B movie noirs which people should check out because those are very quick, those are very fast, but those are very violent and those are very, very, very well made.
Yeah, so it'll satiate everyone's desires now also, like violent, quick, fast.
But they are very well made. That's the biggest thing.
Everybody's on the hunt for prestige today. They wouldn't make these films for that reason.
Yeah,
prestige में क्या बनाते हैं वो भी नहीं चलता.
But there are different definitions of prestige nowadays, right? That's another thing here also.
Yeah, classically you would call, I suppose, Abbas Mastan a B movie team.
Yeah,
right. But they got A-listers to work with them. That's the only difference.
Yeah, exactly. That's the joy of it in some senses.
Yeah. That's the reason why Rana Naidu is filming watched by a lot of people. So
it's probably not even B movie.
Yeah. So no, but I'm bringing up Detour because Detour is nasty. Detour.
Yeah.
You thought Barbara Stanwyck's Femme Fatale was dark?
Oh
Detour's Femme Fatale was darker. Oh God.
She's a piece of work.
She's a piece of work.
Yeah.
She's a piece of work. And the voiceover is fantastic.
I thought the voiceover in something like that was more sort of, I don't know, suited it more, I guess, for me at least.
Yeah, the voiceover worked. The voiceover worked to fill in the blank spaces, however little there were.
Because there is little, right? You're just moving through stuff very, very quickly.
Yeah, they're moving just through stuff. There is runtime issues. Everything works.
Yeah.
So in that regard,
Yeah.
So Detour is that. Now the 40s used to hit, we get Out of the Past, we get The Postman Always Rings Twice, we
Mhm.
get all of these detective movies, detective and the femme fatale relationship and everything.
Mhm.
Interestingly, when it comes to the 50s, things become far more dangerous because the war is over now. 5 years have
Mhm.
passed, the war is over. Now people are becoming even more jaded, if that was even
Mhm.
possible. Because now the response has
Always
come.
possible. Mhm.
Yeah, now the people have become even more jaded. So you get a Robert Aldrich movie like a 1955 Kiss Me Deadly, which
Mhm.
is basically an extremely corrupt and sleazy detective trying
Mhm.
to investigate the murder of a woman.
Mhm.
He goes on investigating. He gets into a MacGuffin. The MacGuffin, I'm going to spoil this movie because my spoiling it doesn't
Pulp
matter at all.
Fiction.
My spoiling it doesn't matter at all. Yeah, Pulp Fiction, obviously. My spoiling it doesn't matter because people need to see this movie. Kiss Me Deadly ends with the detective finding that the MacGuffin is an atomic bomb.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is like one of the darkest jokes ever.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And
but it's
that's
it's fueled by cynicism, like cynicism on
and
overdrive almost.
again by the 50s people stopped paying attention to the private detective being the protagonist. Now it becomes that normal people get involved.
Maniacs
And
also,
other
no, just a bit
professions.
like crazy also, like just they're
Not just
just
that, other
psychotic.
professions come into the
Other
picture.
professions come into play now because the
Yeah.
cynicism is now exploding more and more because war has stopped. People are now getting more and more
So
involved in
we are so
this.
odd, right? Like
Great.
it's always
I think
sorry, Varun, go ahead.
Yeah, I think a great example of this is actually Wilder's film again, Ace in the Hole, which uses a journalist.
I was bringing that up. Yeah,
Right.
journalist, Ace in the Hole.
Again, he's
Nightcrawler, then translated.
we were talking about
Yeah.
Nightcrawler double feature with
Yes, Ace in the Hole.
Yeah.
Ace in the Hole.
Anti-advertisement for journalism.
I remember that scene in Ace in the Hole. For a brief initiation, Varun, Ace in the Hole. What was the entire story? Small town.
So this supposedly big shot reporter gets fired from his job. He moves to a smaller town.
Yes.
And over there, he goes on the hunt for a story essentially and stumbles upon one when a man, I think, gets stuck in a
man's
coal mine, I think.
I think not a coal mine. I think it's a mountain of some kind. America calls anything a mountain.
It's some mine though. I mean, and they're doing some work.
He's doing some digging, some excavation of some kind is happening. Yeah. He's doing some digging and the thing collapses and he's then stuck. And this guy realizes, oh damn, I've got a story on my hands.
Yeah.
But his story hinges upon keeping this guy inside for the longest.
Inside for as long as possible.
Yeah. The complete opposite of what you would actually do.
Yes. No morality, basically.
And it's played by one of
Kirk
the
Douglas.
One of the biggest heroes of Hollywood.
Yes.
Kirk Douglas. So you can understand. Noir now becomes mainstream because bigger actors are now getting into.
But wouldn't you say that if Bogey was already doing noir with Maltese?
But Bogey basically became popular by doing noirs, right? Other bigger actors weren't getting in. Yeah. Other bigger actors started getting in. Come on, fucking Wells got in. In Touch of Evil.
He got in 20 years late, but he got it.
He got it and he opened it by that masterful tracking shot. Holy crap! In Touch.
It's a long take, right?
That's the entire long take.
Yeah.
It's
watch it. I think it's been referenced so much now. Even Scorsese has referenced it a couple of times, right? In his film.
Yeah.
No, Touch of Evil is also present, I think, in all of these 50s films somehow ended up in Bombay Velvet in some way or the other.
Yeah. Easy.
Amazing. Like, Bombay Velvet again.
Yeah.
No, it's a neo-noirish kind of.
I mean, it's Kashyap's love letter to classic noir.
Classic noir.
Yeah. So the 50s became far more of a much more jaded time, if that even was possible. That 50 to 59 was other professions are getting in. Stories were becoming darker. Stories were using black comedy. The violence also was getting a tad bit more explicit.
Because I think the code was also waning out, right?
The code was also slowly waning out, so that
violence was normalized by now, right? Because you had so many servicemen who had come back from the war.
Exactly, because
it didn't really matter anymore.
It's kind of like what happened after Vietnam, except the Vietnam War was far worse. So that's what happened here.
No atomic bomb there. I mean,
no atomic bomb there, but but how the soldiers were treated, because
Yeah.
Vietnam was basically
You could
proxy war, right?
you get
Wage
Taxi
war.
Driver, the first, I mean, one of the quintessential, whatever. Anyways,
Which
yes.
again was inspired by another noir, which was again directed by Hitchcock. I don't
You
exactly
said so much smoke in M. I mean, that opening shot of Taxi
Ah.
Driver, it's like,
But it's
oh my
New York
God,
only, huh? It's still New York is like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Like the
Yeah,
smoke
yeah.
can be there all the time.
And
Yes.
I watched Taxi Driver after I'd watched Joker, so I had to check which film I was watching.
Oh
course
my
there's a Joker
God,
joke.
that's such
Of course there's a Joker joke.
Oh God.
Of course there's a Joker joke.
Oh God. Anyways, moving on. Should I now?
So now the
Yes.
final choice which we both decided on was how noir affected other countries,
Mhm.
and how other countries' context began to seep in,
Yes.
because we had brought up an example on Carol Reed's The Third Man, which
Mhm.
explored war in Vienna,
Vienna.
post-war
Mhm.
Vienna.
Mhm.
Also has Orson Welles, Joseph
Yeah.
Cotten,
Yes.
Citizen
Yeah.
Kane,
Mhm.
Citizen Kane ka
Reunion.
reunion, more or less. Yeah,
Mhm.
another fantastic movie. And that was an example of British noir.
Mhm.
Noir also got a bit of a resurgence in France, in
Yeah,
French noir.
as usual,
And,
of course.
yeah, of
Mhm.
course. And I think kind of one of the primary reasons was because Jules Dassin's emigration from US to France,
Yeah.
where he brought that noir sensibilities with him.
Yeah.
It's hilarious that it's called noir in America. The word noir is
It's
French.
because these guys coined it, no? The
Yeah.
Cahiers du cinema dudes. The
Yeah.
French New Wave guys, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about them. There's a whole new discussion.
Let's not.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had Bombay Noir, which was more or less, inaugurated by Gurudutt in Bazi, 1941. Devanand.
51.
51, right? Oh yeah,
51.
of course it's 51. How could it be 41? Yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course it's 51. Post-independence, everything else. Yeah, of course it's 51.
Mhm.
So Bazi, then Howrah Bridge, then
CID,
CID,
Jewel Thief.
Jewel Thief.
Mhm.
All of these is Bombay Noir,
Mhm.
because that was the primary example of the mutability of a genre which was so
Mhm.
American in its approach.
Yeah,
But the cynicism, which finally defined that noir became a style. And
yeah.
that style, I think, got the biggest impact in Japan.
Mhm.
And it was done by one of the greatest filmmakers of all time just when he was starting out. In
Yeah.
1948, he did Drunken Angel, which was a
Have you
pretty
seen it?
good, no, which was a
No.
pretty good noir apparently. I
Mhm.
need to see it. But in 1949, I think he did one of the best noirs ever until he
Mhm.
topped himself.
I think High and Low is the top. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
for me
he
at least, it
topped
does
himself.
top it. Yeah.
He topped
Yeah.
himself in 63's High and Low, but Stray
Yeah.
Dog is damn good. This time, Dhruv, open it. Come
Oh
on.
wow! Why do I get
Yeah.
the pleasure? Anyways, I'm
Because
not
you
a
just saw it. Because you
That's
just
fair
saw it.
enough. No,
Yeah.
it was great. Like I think this was my first watch of it, and I've seen my fair. No, actually, I've not seen much Kurosawa, but I've seen some of it. But to me, it was very much. I think this strikes as it ticks a lot of the sort of post-war noir boxes in the sense that, again, it's about the cops and the robber, the two sides of the same coin almost. If you want to take a modern day example of it, something like we've been bringing up Kashyap a lot, but like Raman Raghav 2.0, if it was
Exactly,
just if it was just centered on our main protagonist. And one of the minor issues I have, and I feel I'm alone in this because I was going through a lot of reviews after watching it and seeing what people thought about it. I think a lot of people appreciate the film more when it's a detective procedural, like when it becomes two cops solving a case drama, where it becomes about Mifune, who's a protagonist, Toshiro Mifune, and Shimamura,
Toshiro
right?
Mifune.
He's very good in this,
Yeah.
I think, Toshiro Mifune. But Shimamura, who's the older cop, And it's almost, if you have seen David Fincher's Seven before this, it is very much a sense of older person,
older jaded cop and the younger
older jaded cop, younger cop, sort of. The younger cop is sort of more cynical, more affected by war, by a generation which has just come out of war. Yeah. Sorry,
what is interesting here are the cultural context, because the movie opens, correct me if I'm wrong, is movie opens with a gun being stolen.
Yes. A gun gets stolen in the first sequence.
The gun gets stolen. That is one of the bigger
his gun gets stolen. Toshiro Mifune's gun gets stolen, and then the whole plot is sort of like him trying to find out who, not find out who has taken it. That's, I think, solved about halfway through. And then it's like chasing the guy and trying to find him where this person is actually located. So I think, again, whatever you have said about this, he's a post-war protagonist. He is lost. The stray dog in the title applies not just to literal stray dogs, which are like the opening titles have him has a extreme close-up of a stray dog, which is a very evocative imagery.
It's a very evocative image.
Yeah. And then it's basically
so evocative. It's so evocative that apparently ASPCA actually, they actually, accused Kurosawa of infecting the dog with rabies.
Yes. It was I was reading it and I was like, okay, that's very interesting, whatever. But then it's a lot to do with him being the stray dog, him being lost in a country which feels both organized and disorganized, like at the same time, which is what fascinated me the most.
Post-war.
There's such a methodical way in which the gun is being passed around after being pickpocketed across these very regimented almost sections, but it feels fully in chaos. He feels so lost in that place. There's this extraordinary, I think, and this is going to be my lasting memory of the film. This is going to be my lasting memory of the film, is the 10-minute montage.
It's such a beautiful
where he's just lost in the city, trying to roam around and sort of,
he's lost in the train, he's lost in the station, he's walking through the city, the montage of faces.
It's like it changes into a city symphony. I was like, what is this? Like, have we gone to like a Tokyo? Like we are just exploring the place almost, and it's shot in a way where you see it superimposed with his face, and it's really evocative. And I thought it was fantastic, that sequence especially. And I think my minor quibble, it's not a major, because I think the film really plays at this angle of the robber being the same person as the rookie cop, in the sense that both of them are post-war, symptomatic almost of the sort of post-war condition, and they are approaching it in very different ways. So I think that sort of noirish element is there. Then the city squalor, of course, everything sort of urban setting, going into sort of areas which are dark and dingy, and there's no proper housing and everything, and that sort of, and the femme fatale in fact is almost a minor element, but not that much. There's introduces very late on, but I don't think that's a major play here. I think the main is the cops and robbers.
It's more like the cops and robbers, and I think to a certain degree, I think the femme fatale of it is more like the lamentation of a city. It's that emotional core, the lamentation of the city which is working here. I think it's more of a noir on the technical side of it. I think that is one of the reasons why Kurosawa himself did not like the movie that much, because he felt it was too technical. But which again,
it's weird because I think it's overwritten some places. In fact, I think so.
Which again baffles me. I'm like, if this is what you think your weakest movie is, God,
I think he liked it later on. I was reading, like he was like more appreciative of it in his autobiography or something. Whatever, doesn't matter. But Varun, you also just watched it, right? The first time.
I just watched it.
Yeah. What did you think?
Your thoughts?
First Kurosawa.
First Kurosawa. Looking forward to obviously watching more, but couple of first impressions I had were, again, I've grown up entirely in this country. My second language is Hindi, so I've watched a lot of Hindi films. Because he's on public transport in the opening sequence, I was somehow reminded of Dibakar Banerjee's Vyomkesh Bakshi. That the credits roll over a tram sequence in Calcutta.
I wouldn't be surprised. I
wouldn't be surprised if Dibakar
Banerjee took inspiration from this. Wouldn't be surprised.
And it just made me think of how we keep talking about noir being an everyman concept. But in the West, the everyman is still in possession of a car.
Yeah.
Like the car is pivotal to double indemnity, for
Yeah.
instance. The car is pivotal to the game we were talking about, LA Noir, for instance.
Yeah.
But in the East, the car and
It's
especially
a luxury.
is a luxury, and
Yeah.
especially in the time period the film is set in.
Yeah.
So he's using public transportation like everyone
Yeah.
else. I was like, God damn, man, that's really a great way of placing
That's
a
cultural
protagonist.
That's cultural context.
Yeah.
Exactly.
101. Yeah.
And it plays out. I feel like all these older films, the chase sequence always plays out as a comedy.
Yes.
For whatever reason. It's because the camera works very differently at that time, and I don't think they were hand cranked anymore. But even so, I mean, you get the feel that these guys are just, because you look at those larger or rather the
There wasn't
takes of
any
the
concept. Yeah, there wasn't any concept of any stylized case.
yeah.
Like nowadays people say it's so stylized, slow
Yeah.
motion. There wasn't any concept of that.
No, and that's what it gives it its legs, right? You
Yeah.
maybe just put a camera on a pickup truck and you just shot it.
Yeah.
It
However
feels
came out,
rudimentary.
it came out.
I feel like very
but it also
basic,
then
which is good.
because the crime itself is so rudimentary.
Yeah.
Right, stealing somebody's pistol.
Yeah.
It's
And-
rudimentary.
and-
It's rudimentary, but it's also pretty. How do I say this? It's also pretty anti-administration because you.
So that's sort of what I'm coming to, which is that the older cops don't take it so seriously that
they don't take it
lost his
seriously.
weapon.
Yeah.
He's a post-war guy. Now, this is a presumption because the film does not state it explicitly, or at least I didn't find that it stated it explicitly. My assumption is he's an ex-serviceman. He's served in the Emperor's army at some point. And in the armed forces, losing your weapon is a massive, massive problem. You can
You are
wind
not.
up in front of
You are
court
not
martial for
wrong.
it.
You are not wrong.
Right?
I made the
which
same
is-
assumption. I made
Yeah,
the same
so which is what
I
he's
think
so
it's
worried
very
about.
much. Yeah, it's very
It's a
much
very-
implied.
It's a
I
very
think.
implied, I think.
Yeah, and so because in any society like Japan post-war, where poverty is so extreme, like America in the 30s or Germany in the 30s,
Yeah,
you're worried about anything that can lead to an increase in crime.
Yeah.
exactly.
And a pistol in the hands of any random Tom, Dick, or Harry can be a problem for that specific reason, which is what drew me to the film, I think. And the way he just does away with certain conventions is very interesting. He does away with the femme fatale. He gives us that one token shot of showgirls dancing or whatever. But it's so interestingly a person who's not initiated in history probably won't appreciate Stray Dog as much, because the baseball game means something. In 4 years, the Americans have taught the Japanese that, hey, whatever you've been playing all these years is garbage.
Exactly.
Here, watch us. I think the team is also called Giants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the major baseball league teams in America is
New York
called the
Giants.
New York
Giants.
Giants, right?
Yeah.
I was worried whether it was Giants or Jets. I don't know. So
Jets
I
bhi
don't-
hai. Jets bhi hai.
I'm a cricket fan. I don't watch
Same Jesus.
bargain baseball cricket.
भाई
No.
अमेरिका पे बैठा है एक बंदा है यार.
No, I don't watch
Well, I
basement, bargain
have
basement
no
cricket.
idea what baseball is. Okay, so don't ask me.
So yeah,
But yes.
and it immediately made me think of, oh wow, this is, and it's a packed stadium, right? It's
Yeah, fully
entire
packed. They're like,
crowd.
no one will miss this big game, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
really?
Look at it from this perspective. If you are supplanting it to India,
Yeah,
India is a country with very much musical approach, right? So even if you are putting something like a noir, like say a Howrah Bridge movie or whatever, you had to put a Mera Naam Chin Chin Choo, Chin Chin Choo,
Yeah.
Chin Chin Choo.
You
have
could
to
put a
that
song in this also somewhere. Like if you transpose
but
the
this to
showgirls
Hindi-
would have been done.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah.
show,
Showgirls would have
but
been
then
done.
again, it's not as if the showgirl ka dance scene was going to be integral to the plot or was going
Yeah.
to be a distraction. It was just 1
Yeah.
second ka shot and then they will pass it.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
in Stray Dog, yes, of course. Yeah.
Yes, that's my whole point. Like if it is in India, you have to devote a
Yes.
certain amount
Or
of
you have to
time for-
make the scene around it. So you have to like
or you have to
kind
make
of
the scene
like
around it,
that
yeah.
would be the like actual filmmaker. I think like
But
productive.
I'll
filmmaker.
still go on a limb and say, fine, that's our format, so we're going to.
No,
No, we're not
even
critiquing
discounting
it. It's basically a
discounting it. I'm not
differential
discounting-
method.
Yeah, I'm going to break this down very honestly in saying that in Japan, he does away with the femme fatale entirely because
Right.
that's not important. And that is why I think this Stray Dog itself proves that noir wasn't a genre anymore by this point. Noir became a style.
Yeah, pessimism,
It's
ambivalence,
pessimism, it's
almost
ambivalence,
darkness.
it's cynicism.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cynicism.
Also, culturally, aren't the Japanese a little like us, that they are more conservative about women? So it would have been a problem for him to show a femme fatale.
There
Well,
is, I
yes,
think,
more
but
or
there
less.
is one femme fatale, like sort of femme fatale, but not like, it's just not a major character. Like, I think,
I mean, they were pretty conservative considering the fact that during the 60s they literally wanted to make it as non-conservative as possible. So Seijun Suzuki
oh yes,
basically started directing Tokyo Drifter and all that stuff.
let's
So
not
it's
go
like,
into pink films and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not. Yes, we have
and-
covered them before. One
Yes.
before. So
yes.
watching it
Let's
again.
not go there.
It's also very, like you said, the squalor. It's
Abject poverty.
Yeah, the abject poverty. It's sort of actually reminded me of Pather Panchali for that reason. That, you know,
I can understand
you see
that,
those
yeah.
shacks.
The faces of those.
No,
Yeah,
the faces, sure, but like the shacks, I thought
Yeah.
of more immediately. Right?
That's like completely, and I think there's
And the dog, as
yeah.
well. The dog is such a big presence in
I mean,
Pather.
I think it's
I'm sorry
like,
if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but
No. I think it's more to do with
whatever. Don't worry.
It doesn't make. Oh, we pronounce Amartya's name wrong also, so it's fine.
Yeah.
No, but I was about to say, like, I was. There uncompleted houses, like, I think there's a dialogue in the film where Shimomura's character says that my house is like this, but the other guy's house isn't even like a house or whatever. And I think, in fact, I was imagining throughout the moments with Shimomura what this film would be if he wasn't even there in the film. I almost think I would like that film more, in a sense, just because I like the sort of subjectivity, total, almost he's that it enhances the two sides of the coin more, almost like the antagonist and protagonist being both lost but finding their own way through it. I think the climax is
post-traumatic
yeah, exactly. And I think the climax
PTSD.
before the sort of, and I'm like, Akira Kurosawa probably took a note from Hollywood Hays Code almost in the ending and softening the blow almost. I think there's a perfect shot where this ends, and I feel he goes on for one more shot, which is,
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't seen this movie, I think he takes inspiration from a Jules Dassin noir.
The Naked City, I think, which I've not seen.
The Naked City. Yeah,
I've not seen.
But this movie reminded me of a movie which came much later, because the movie is so hot and sweaty, and that is In the Heat of the Night.
Yes. Yeah, I was about to say,
it
is a bloody sweaty film. Everyone is. It's the heat wave. Like you kind of, he really makes you feel the palpable sort of, the sweat.
Kind of also makes you feel like it is suffering from the aftermath of the atomic detonation. People are still suffering, as if the heat wave is kind of affecting them even
I mean,
now.
you'll see, and it's weird when you see this and when it rains, it like thunders and like it has like that really, and then you'll see this in Rashomon also, because it carries over into that.
Another, like two more things that I at least was reminded of. The Heat, for instance, I was reminded of Chinatown.
Yes, I can understand.
Right? Because he's in those suits, and you almost feel like
the white linen suit in that.
So if you're feeling so hot, just wear shirt sleeves and a trouser. And also because the plot revolves around water.
Yes.
Right? That's the.
But then again,
this is Chinatown. Yes.
But then again, Chinatown is neo-noir. I think
neo-noir.
I think one of the primary markers of a neo-noir is dead giveaway to all the tropes of the noirs. A dead giveaway, not a subtle giveaway. It's more or less a dead giveaway. So I think the white suits being completely, dampened on with sweat and everything is kind of like Polanski's way of saying, yeah, I know. This is uncomfortable.
But that out of placeness, at least in Stray Dog, also feels very purposeful. Like him wearing a white suit, he doesn't belong, right? In any case,
he doesn't belong in it, right? Because it's American culture.
It's the whole Stray Dog, and Stray Dog and Rabbit Dog or Mad Dog is the contradiction that's being made here. So I mean, it's very much
I think what was the other thing I was reminded of? Yeah, I was reminded of Bicycle Thieves. Especially in that one shot where there's very little development on the street, but it's all pakka. Whatever has been built is pakka housing or concrete buildings.
Yeah.
And there are so many such shots of half-built or half-destroyed buildings of Rome, but not of Rome as you imagine it. Not classical Rome.
Development been put at a standstill.
Yes.
Because the impact of the event is still reverberating so many years. 4 years later. It's just 4 years. It's just 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's a similar time as the time frame for Bicycle Thieves also.
50, 51, I think.
48 Bicycle
48 Bicycle Thieves.
Okay, 48.
48. Bicycle Thieves is 40, yeah.
Totally
Fantastic
different
film,
approaches,
that.
by the way, I think. Like in terms of the ways they are.
That's more neorealist.
Neorealism.
That's the quintessential neorealist film, I think, right? That's the marker of whatever.
And the fact is that it's neorealism stretches beyond the film, in that the actors didn't find employability.
Yes.
Just,
No, it's like I mean, I guess I'm less interested in neorealism. I don't know why. As a movement.
But you like Bresson.
He's not neorealist. He's like he pushes
like
more
that,
in that direction. He pushes even more like in that. He's like statue. like the characters are statues. They're not like.
No wonder Uncle Paul loves him so much.
Whatever.
It'll be great if he keeps calling him Uncle Paul and one day they bump into each other on the streets of New York.
Yeah, who me? Oh no, I saw him talking when after Master Gardener, and I was like, full uncle he's become.
That movie is supposed to come out, right? Oh.
Yes, 50. It's come like his new film. It's his third in the trilogy of God's Lonely Man. The new God. I mean, first Reformed is the great
previous one was
Card Counter.
Card Counter, Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
Pretty good movie, by the way. I don't know why.
I think very good.
I like that movie very much.
I think very good. And Master Gardener, not very good. Anyways, is that it? I think we covered it, Fairways, right?
I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm also saying this because my battery is running out for my laptop. So I think that's it for this episode. Anything more to add, guys?
Yeah, I think we can give. I think if people want recommendations, I think it's too much at this point.
No. Listen, honestly, if this episode does well, I'm more than happy to do a second part and like explore. Maybe we'll go to the 70s, right? Neo-noir. We'll not discuss Taxi Driver, by the way. We've that movie's been discussed today.
That's already not neo-noir. I mean, in a sense that it goes too much into the psychological drama space.
So
I might be more open to discussing some of the 50s American noirs.
We can see our selection. Maybe France also. Like we've not looked at like Jules Dassin, and we maybe look at Indian noir also sometimes.
Rififi, La Samurai, all that stuff. Yeah.
Jean-Pierre Neville. Let's go.
Asphalt Jungle
is very good. Very good movie.
The Killing, Stanley
Kubrick's first film.
We've not discussed any Kubrick actually. Maybe that's a good option. We can maybe just focus on 50s noir because we didn't cover it now, right? So maybe
Killing
that's
by Kubrick is another fantastic.
I've heard it's very, very good, right? That's the only Kubrick I've not seen. Actually, no, I've not seen Lolita and others also.
It's very good. The Killing
isn't Reservoir Dogs based partially on The Killing?
Reservoir Dogs is based partially on The Killing and partially on Ringo Lam's trial by, I think.
No, that's why it's not based.
I'm being polite.
Like taken from.
I saw this DVD. Let me be the Sanjay Gupta of Hollywood for a minute.
Listen, please don't. Yes, I was about to say don't compare Sanjay Gupta.
No, but because you guys mentioned Raja Sen, right? Raja Sen's tweet. A couple of years ago, Tarantino decided to do like something at New Beverly in LA.
Yeah.
And Kante was one of the films he selected.
Tarantino loves Kante.
I know. Mad guy.
Yeah.
Someday Park Chan-wook will also come and like Zinda, right?
Sanjay Gupta's Zinda.
Yeah. Oh God.
I will never forgive him or that movie for ruining Old Boy for me. So.
Do you forgive Stan Lee? No, Spike Lee.
I haven't seen his movie, no. So I'm safe. I watched Zinda before Old Boy. That's my problem.
The mop of FIFA.
No, my Sanjay Gupta animosity is strong. I don't like people copying, and I don't like people whatever.
defending from copying either.
Yeah, I mean, the official copying is fine, but then this was firstly unofficial, and I didn't watch the original, so I'm very annoyed that I already knew the bloody twist, and I was like, screw you, man.
I mean, there is a movie which came out this year, 2023, called Iratta, Malayalam movie.
I thought you were going to say kutte, but okay.
Oh, fuck no. The 2023 Malayalam movie called Iratta, which basically has a very old boy-esque twist. But the impact of the twist is much deeper.
I do have to watch Old Boy, so I'll have to.
Sir, get on the Park Chan-wook train. I think maybe we've put off people from watching this essentially by promoting it so much. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope you had a great time listening to this episode. We had great fun. I mean, I had great fun preparing for it and recording it. So,
I'm still technically preparing for it only because
but that's you gave yourself the assignment, so no sympathies. And no, and hopefully we'll return for more because we've already planned a noir western there's so much we've planned. I swear to God, I need to sort out my historical fiction. I mean, there's so much we've planned, but none of it's sort of.
If you thought noir was geeky, wait till you listen to the western episode.
Amartya will handle that also. So if you want to follow him and get more of his opinions about this and the rest of stuff that's going on right now,
and not get tired, and if you're not tired already,
yes, you can follow at Amartya25, right?
Yes.
Instagram, yes, I got it correctly. And Varun,
you on my Letterboxd, honestly.
And Letterboxd we'll plug at the bottom, which is the same handle or what?
It's just Tomoto, yeah.
Okay. And Varun, you will have to plug your own because I have forgotten the exact thing.
So, Cinephiles Talk on Instagram, because that's where I write about film.
And you are also starting a newsletter, which I have subscribed to, so I'm going to tell people.
It's called Dispatches from a Dark Room.
That's a great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Am I already subscribed to it? Wait, let me check.
I need to get cracking on that second volume.
It's fine. You cannot I know you write long form, which I appreciate, but I also know that takes a lot of time.
It takes time.
Oh, the first newsletter was 5,000 words. My father sent me a message. He's like, why is this 5,000 words? I can't read so much.
Break it up, no? Break it.
No, so break it up is already happening on the blog. So
okay. Achha, you're breaking up one of the into sections, right? That way, yes.
Yeah, new releases tend to go onto the blog. I'm
yes.
Dives into some stuff.
Got it. Okay, so do follow or subscribe to that, and you don't want to publicize your normal.
Letterboxd is no, not my normal Instagram.
Okay, fine.
I follow you guys,
contact you. Yes.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I won't
and
get
Letterboxd.
Government. Letterboxd is Varun Bhake.
Okay, fine. Letterboxd, we'll also do it.
We will follow.
We will follow. And you can follow me if you want at Terminal Cinema, even though I only make bad jokes on Instagram stories.
When he finally has time to write make long form posts, that is.
Yes.
Yeah. You should just submit. You should just put up your assignments on Instagram. No. You were telling
us it's too technical, I think.
कोई बात नहीं.
अरे क्या है? हम ही तो पढ़ रहे हैं और क्या?
तो क्या हुआ यार? Okay, anyways, good idea for later. Maybe I'll do some post on M actually. I'm very intrigued. Thank you so much for listening and
Please listen to it.
Yes, that is more important.